No. Okay.
No.
Fair enough.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 597. Mortal Kombat needs to tone down the violence. No, seriously. Very bold idea from the Tactical Bacon Productions YouTuber we actually enjoy. He has some pretty good videos. I dislike his opening bacon assortment intro. But
How dare you?
Out of jealousy more than anything.
Because you're in that Canadian bacon, isn't it?
There's a certain way to cook bacon. That's not the right way, but that's fine. He can eat his bacon however he likes.
It's American bacon.
I don't know.
Anyone else who makes bacon?
There's many ways to make bacon. There's many kinds of bacon. Italians know their bacon. So I look at that and go, okay, it's cute, but don't ever do that. Anyway, this is a video came out 2 weeks ago, has almost 100,000 views and 13 minutes long. Oh, I just noticed the dislike. It's 4.7K upvotes, 2.3K downvotes. Ooh. It's.
I think it's just the title alone.
Well, since this is Mortal Kombat, it's like the reason why dislikes are that close to likes is probably because of the normies that got into the recent games.
Well, even the first Mortal Kombat that came out on arcades and then the port to Super Nintendo, it was about violence. But even when it got ported, it had the blood was removed in certain consoles.
Well,
so,
he's gonna make the point in the video, but he's gonna make the point in the video. But it's like the idea with the older games. Yeah, it's definitely violent, but it didn't take itself as seriously, and there was an appeal to that back then.
Okay, but this has always.
I would say the first Mortal Kombat was half serious still.
Yeah, it seems like a B movie.
And I don't mean it. Sorry.
Yeah, like I want to get the idea that when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's pretty shocking, and then you realize, oh, this is just like a gory B film, but in a video game format with a tournament vibe, and that was it. That's all I saw it as. When you get to like the 2000s, the 2010s, they go into like X-ray detail of like a vivisection of bodies being sliced or cut or burnt or whatever, and it's like, okay, that is still gory B movie. It's just a higher budget B movie. It just pushed as far as it can go, and I was like, okay, that's probably not for me. So
that's the idea.
The way it was done first is, and I think that's the important part, is that the fatality, how it's done, is that has to be creative. Not that you see every single bone breaking.
Well, yeah, they do almost the technique for rotoscoping of getting the actor on a green screen back in the day and do every single frame of an attack, a jump, or whatever, turn that into not PNGs. I was going to say PNGs, but it's just turn it into a transparency and make your animation states. And that was it. That was the basic of Mortal Kombat. And now it's gone to full 3D with fully realized characters with like lighting and shadow and depth and all this detail. So people see that and they go, okay, it's kind of like looking at Street Fighter when it went 3D. You're like, okay, I can appreciate it. It's just not the same. It doesn't feel the same.
It's like current Mortal Kombat went a bit too far into the violence and the gore, and that for Mortal Kombat, that's saying something. It's like it definitely took itself seriously back then, but the part of the appeal back then was that it reveled in the absurdity and played into it. Whereas now,
what it did was it played it straight. The violence was over the top, but it played it straight as this is how this world works.
Yeah, and then
they accepted the absurdity of it, like given like the technological aspects that the technology we had back then. It's like they played it straight. They took it seriously, but at the exact same time, they played into the absurdity.
Yeah, and then they had these sequels, and there's so many sequels where they had.
Are we talking past each other? Because that's what playing it straight means. You can have absurd situations, but you play them straight. That means everyone in the situation, in the scene, acts as if this is as if this is a normal thing that we take serious.
Right.
In contrast to what lots of modern cartoons do, where nobody takes anything that happens seriously, which just makes it all cringeworthy.
And that's why
everybody's breaking the fourth wall. That's not fun anymore.
And that's why
you have to play it straight.
This game was seen as a sort of like, okay, it's ultra violent, or at the time it was, with all the blood and gore. But then they started having sequels, which had babalities and friendships and all kinds of other finishing moves that doesn't make any sense. And they just, okay, this is what you could do. That's fine. You can keep going. And that was that. It's like, okay, you can do crazy, goofy shit.
That was actual fun.
I thought they did that part of the reason because of the controversy it got, because of the violence.
To make fun of the controversy.
Yeah, this is a fun thing.
They didn't bend the knee back then.
They kept it violent. They kept it a tournament. They kept it a simple, straight thing as it always was, and they added more features, which is what you do in a sequel. So because the nature of it is comical and not to be taken too seriously, it's like, all right, you can do crazy, goofy shit. And then it kept getting bigger and bigger. So you have the 3D, you have the multiple levels, you have the destroyable environments, you have, I think, items or objects in the environment.
Well, now you can choose what kind of moveset your character, the playable character, has now.
Oh, okay.
The customization, and to go off on a little tangent on that, there's literally 4 characters that are pretty much built for the customization, and none of them are in MK11.
Oh.
And then they started, introducing characters from like other games or movies, like Kratos and.
That on its own was not that bad. The issue is like there was not. They took focus away from their own stuff in order to give more emphasis to the guests. Which don't do it like that. It should be more. It should have been more like evened out between your own shit and the guests, and also that many guests. Really.
Yeah, it's becoming.
It's just trying
more
to
thing now.
Do some Capcom versus something bullshit.
Yeah, the versus games. Yeah, it's like
essentially,
leaning too hard into it. That was the issue.
But
And yet, if I can say one last thing, and yet they didn't have the 2 characters that pretty much fit Mortal Kombat perfectly, which is Ash Williams and Doomslayer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So so violence is a core piece of Mortal Kombat. There's no point in making a Mortal Kombat game if you don't have excessive violence. That's
why I'm interested in what he means by what to tone it down.
What I mean to say is that there are many fighting games. Everything stands out by something, and some have better controls than others, better fighting feeling than others. Depends on what you prefer, of course, but the style of the game itself plays a huge role, and for Mortal Kombat it is in the violence. And the people that complain now about Mortal Kombat being too violent were most likely the same people or the same types of people who, when Mortal Kombat 1 came out, said, that's too violent, we must censor it. Only that now these people claim to be gamers and claim to play video games and maybe even do once a month.
Well, I do remember...
And then throw away the controller in frustration because they can't do the Cuphead tutorial.
I do remember the success of the film, which came out in the 90s, the first one at least. And it wasn't a bad film. It wasn't like a great film. It wasn't a horrible film.
The 95 movie?
The 95 one. And it had Christopher Lambert. It was so funny. It was great.
Cary Tagawa.
Yeah.
Christopher Lambert and Cary Tagawa. It's like, that was a great... at the time, that was a really good video game movie.
If we could say there was a good video game movie adaptation, that would be number 1 at the time. So,
at the time, yeah.
And it knew what it was doing. It was like, okay, we can't take this too seriously. At the same time, they're also big stakes, but it's a fun. They were doing it for fun. It wasn't this big serious god thing, which has now become in the storylines with time travel plots and what have you.
And they were able to stay faithful to the first Mortal Kombat game. All that without the gore.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah,
I mean, all about let's make something cool. And on the side, it has produced one of the greatest movie soundtracks ever that people somehow believe is part of the game when it isn't, or was made as an addition for the game.
The commercial, yes.
The entire soundtrack.
Well, specifically the main...
I have that CD, and when I was a kid, I had no idea that was a movie, and that CD was the soundtrack of that movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean specifically that a lot of people associated the Techno Syndrome main theme with the games, but that was for the movie first. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, this is a lot of things that worked well in Mortal Kombat's favor. There was a bunch of other stuff like animated series. I have no idea what that was about, and comic books. I have no idea. Like I didn't pay attention to any of the stuff. Just the main series and the. At least
the early comics, they made the attempt to have them as close to the actual games as possible.
Right.
And they also used the comics to clarify details from the game story because obviously you can't have all the arcade endings be part of the same canonical story.
Right. I couldn't read the arcade endings because I played it on an Amiga and it had this big red letter font that was unreadable on the CRT.
Yeah, they used the comic.
What even was the story?
They at least the canonical endings at the very least they at least obviously Liu Kang won the tournament. Instead of killing Sub-Zero in the tournament, they confirmed that Scorpion killed Sub-Zero after the fact. I think those are the only two that I know for a fact they immediately like canonized that with the comic. But
what? But Sub-Zero is in every other game.
No, there's two Sub-Zeros actually.
Yeah, there's his brother, right?
They're brothers, yeah.
Okay. All right.
I honestly only played the first game.
If you've ever seen the completely black ninja Noob Saibot, that's the first Sub-Zero.
Fuck off. That's just one of the developers backwards.
Both.
Yeah, Ed Boon and somebody else, right?
John Tobias.
Okay.
Tobias.
Yeah. All right. Anyway,
let's just That's just one more thing before we get into it, because Costume Joe reminds us all of a very important fact, and that is that the fatalities are just game finishers. They don't do damage. You do them as a reward after you've finally beaten the enemy in the final round, and they're not in the manual.
Nope,
they were not in the manual. You had to buy actual games journalism magazines that were listing helps, tips, and walkthroughs, and of course the fatalities to Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
in order to know how the fuck do I do the fatality.
Both of those things that you said about the fatalities were the entire point of why they made them the way they did. They were meant to be a pure thing to be discovered by the players, and it was meant to be specifically to rub your victory in your opponent's face. You hear that? Finish him, and then you do it.
It's basically a cheat code reward, and the rest of the game is rather normal.
Okay. Let's get going. Here's Vladimir Dragunov. Thank you, sir. Sweet, a Pearl Clutcher video. This ought to be good. It should be good. We like this guy. He has good arguments. He makes good videos.
Pearl Clutching. He's a recent fan, but that gets Mortal Kombat better than the normies, at least.
Okay. All right.
Well, it's not hard. Just look on the internet. Look back.
He's not a Pearl Clutcher. I can say that for sure.
Anyway, let's get going.
Moving on.
So uneven.
Moving on.
Yes, you read the video's title correctly. And I know there's going to be a lot of angry knee-jerk responses from people who just see the title and don't even watch the video, but for the love of the Elder Gods, just hear me out. Let me explain. There's a reason for this video's topic, and just to make sure I know the people commenting have watched the video, I'm going to include a code word at the end of this video. If your comment does not include the code word, I will assume you haven't watched the whole video and have heard what I have to say.
Okay.
So first, let me digress. Despite the fact that I quite like Mortal Kombat as a whole, MK11 came out before I had rediscovered my dormant love for the franchise. But when Mortal Kombat 11 was in development, I saw a press release that stated they were done making all the female characters leather-clad titty monsters. I felt the same way about this then as I do now. It's something that I'm of two minds about. On one hand, whatever. If I wanted to get my jingles, there are about 1 billion better places to go than an official release. There was only so far they were able to go with Mortal Kombat without pushing the age rating to adults only, which would never happen. So in that regard...
Which is a bloody mistake. It's Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, it should be.
Look at Bayonetta 1. it's a gem nowadays. The first Deadpool movie, rated R. Oh my God, nobody's gonna go because it's rated R. All the children can't watch. Sold like hot potatoes.
The recent Doom games as well, by extension.
Yeah, you just embrace the R.
Yeah, if there's any game that should get
Or
violence, at least a PG-14 rating for. I don't know what movies gets violent ratings these days, or what the rating is for violence in movies these days, because I don't know what the hell the movie industry is like and how the rating system works these days. But if any video game should get an adult rating, it should be Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
I mean, here's an example. Sorry,
your game is about violence. It is the key feature of your game, of your fighting game, that distinguishes it from all the other fighting games is the violence. You need the R. Take the R. Love the R.
Or the M.
All right.
What about the A?
Adults accompanied?
No one wants the A. No one wants the A.
How about the D?
There is no D in the ESRB.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's an R.
Maybe in the games themselves, but not in the ratings.
Yeah.
Just
How about K?
okay. Just can we agree on the R?
Yes, yeah.
Arr!
Yeah, but I was going to say, it's like there's a reason why, well, specifically Doom, when it came back, that was the entire selling point of the whole game, and it paid off because it reveled in it. So it's like, Doom looked at Mortal Kombat, and it's like, hold my beer. It was going to go big or go home, and it went big.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with Doom Eternal, if Bears were here, he'd pretty much confirm it right on the spot, because he knows this too.
Yeah.
I gotta play
video
Doom.
game demography is not just children and teens anymore.
Exactly, that's the point. It's like, again,
who has
go
the
big or
money?
go home.
Yeah. Yes, kids want to play video games, teens want to play video games, but who has the money?
Biden?
He's a socialist. He just steals it. That doesn't count.
Like, and that's why it's such a big deal when all these media outlets and all these idiot journalists and the normies like attack video games for promoting this kind of violence. I'm just like, no, this isn't meant for the children. This is meant for people that can handle it and know how to distinguish between fact.
Yeah, but they'll turn a blind eye for Last of Us, huh?
Well, that's a whole other beast altogether. Fuck that game.
Having good-looking women in your fighting game, why not? Why do you need to tone that down? I mean, okay, take off her mask.
Well,
she's not going to be that attractive anymore.
Remember how we had the...
You know what's even worse? You know what's even worse? And especially in the Namco fighting games, where they don't allow any woman above the age of 40 to be on the roster.
Well, the thing is, they had the jiggle physics in Dead or Alive, and that was a feature. That was a thing in video games that started it off. And they're like, why can't normal video games do it? It's like, yeah, why?
For all we know, it's Dead or Alive's fault that we have this shit happen.
It's possible, because they just said, you know what, we're not doing a fighting game, we're doing a volleyball game now. And now we know our clients, and we're going to make a bunch of those games. So it doesn't
they've
really...
always made fighting games. So.
Oh, yeah, they still do it. But it doesn't really matter what the content is. People will sell a product that has a feature that, hey, why don't we have actual physics? Why don't we have actual girls jumping up and down, and their hips move and their boobs move up and down? Why not? What's the problem?
Yeah, and at this point,
November,
Team Ninja,
come on.
For all we know, Team Ninja do it on purpose just to play into the joke because they know their audience.
And that's just...
Well, they did.
What's the problem with that?
They did until their recent release.
Well, they yeah, until now. But before now, they played into it, and they didn't care.
Okay, well, let's just keep going.
I was ambivalent towards the change. But on the other hand, I questioned why they even felt the need to do it. It seemed very performative to me, because why in a series where you can chop people up in a million different ways and see all the gory details, would scantily clad women be the line you draw? You know what I mean? It just seemed like a deliberate
America. And that's an interesting thing, by the way. Things have moved around a little bit, but the way it was in the 90s especially was America, violence allowed, sex not so much. Sexy things not so much. Germany, sexy things were okay, no problem with that, but violence, we need to censor that out. So when imagine now that some Japanese product, some hypothetical Japanese product that is very sexy and very violent would go through the American censorship that takes out all the sexiness and then goes from there through the European censorship, which takes out all the violence. Then you don't have much left.
Yeah, well.
And there were products that were like that. There was anime that was like that. Dragon Ball for one, Naruto, I can name in that. There's probably been a video game where that happened as well.
That's the same with Sailor Moon in the 90s. There was...
Well, we didn't have Dragon Ball here in the West yet until late 90s with Toonami, but yeah.
Yeah, there was censorship
but
all throughout.
Gingerman. The US version was already censored and cut up.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
we afterwards, our translators, localizers, took the American version, the already cut up version, and cut it up further.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
It's amazing.
I mean, with
Mononoke Hime.
To go back to gaming specifically, it's like it was a big deal in the early 90s when the ASRB was created because it was a whole bunch of games, but it was 3 in particular that were highlighted the most in that hearing. Can anyone name those 3 games?
What? I was reading chat, sorry.
This is before PlayStation?
Yes.
Okay, I can't name them then.
Night Trap, Doom, and Mortal Kombat.
Oh, Night Trap. Oh, jeez. That was such a goofy thing.
It was between those 3. Those 3 games combined were the linchpin that caused the creation of the ESRB.
I thought they didn't play games, though.
That's the entire problem, Eric. They don't know.
Yeah, if you guys ever see clips of Night Trap, you're like, what? What is this?
And to the point where they remastered it 25 years later, and you want to know what console they put it on?
The Dreamcast?
25 years later, I said.
Oh. The PS4.
On the Switch.
I was close.
Of all consoles, the remaster of this infamously violent, in quotes, 25-year-old game.
Yeah.
And you know what console they released the remaster on? The Switch. The Nintendo Switch.
It is so...
come on.
It is such a
Can you
silly...
really?
You're basically playing a 70s, not even a slasher flick, like a low-budget slasher flick with a bunch of people in a house.
Well, at that point, that's the meme. With the remaster, that's the entire joke now.
Yeah, it's pretty silly.
Oh, come on. I need something to distract a 10-year-old.
Is it originally violent on the Switch?
If I remember correctly, they preserved everything.
Oh, okay.
Wonderful. See, this is the thing. As much as people are pissed off with Nintendo, be pissed off with Nintendo of America. They're censorious ass fucks. Nintendo of Japan
are based.
They also make mistakes, but they are the ones who give us the uncensored stuff on the Switch of all things. Not just with that, but also other anime type games.
Which
why is Nintendo the family fun company? I don't want to say it. But let's the Disney of video game consoles. They are the ones who give us the mature shit.
Yeah, the big hoopla was a few years ago, or was it 10 years ago? I can't remember how old this game is called. Senran Kagura, which was the...
Senran Kagura is awesome.
Yeah.
It's very wholesome.
With the female ninjas. And was it because their transformation or their clothing broke? I can't remember what happened, what the big deal was. But it was very endowed women, I think they didn't like. It's like, oh, that's impossible. It's like, well, that's not impossible. It's just... probably not very likely, but it's a game. Who cares?
It's just wholesome anime fun.
Sure.
Yeah, I think Matthews in the chat put it best. Nintendo of Japan is just unhinged, old-fashioned administration, pretty much.
Which means they make decisions that make money.
Yes.
And what makes money? Sex, violence, and rock and roll.
There you go.
Yeah. Again, to say it for a third time, that's the reason why the Doom reboots took off so well, despite the wokeness that was happening around it.
Or at that time it was called progressivism, I think.
Modern Doom is as based as ever.
All right. Anyway.
I know there's violence and rock and roll. Is there sex?
No.
In rock
2
and
out of
roll,
3.
You telling me you don't get a boner by shooting that gun up?
I mean, one last thing before going to video, it's like the music in the first Doom reboot, to the point where it's like if you put some of that music through a spectrograph, you literally see a 666 and a pentagram, because Mick Gordon put that in on purpose to make fun of the Satanic Panic from the 80s and 90s. He is based. He is based.
That's funny.
All right,
As it should be.
let's go.
Mick Gordon is based.
Attempt at good press on a topic that seemed laughable when you look at the context. I think it's just a reinforcement of the dichotomy of our society. We can deal with violence better than we can deal with sexuality.
That
You can
depends
show all
on
the
the
blood and
country.
guts you want, but God help you if you show a nipple. And somehow that attitude bleeds into things like Mortal Kombat, where disingenuous is an understatement. Because personally, looking into it, I think the violence is actually the bigger issue that needs to be addressed. And I know what you're all going to say. What the hell are you talking about? Mortal Kombat is all about the violence. And granted, that's true. Mortal Kombat became popular off the back of its mature content. So popular, in fact, that it forced games to regulate and create a rating system. And I'm not saying this as somebody who's squeamish either. I friggin' love ultraviolence. It's one of my favorite things in creative works. I'm a sucker for gory excess. I'm not sure what that says about me, but hey, we're all a bit weird. But it's only recently that the violence in Mortal Kombat has become so gratuitous that it's become a bit of a problem. As a fairly recent fan of Mortal Kombat, this is something that's become very clear to me as I've looked into it, because in doing various bits of research, I've come to discover that NetherRealm is kind of an awful place to work, allegedly. Toxic environment, crunch, yada yada yada. But the part that depresses me the most are the stories of employees at NetherRealm being...
That's so until before we get into this point, that's sadly the normal work environment in
media, not
gaming
just gaming
companies.
It's
Not just
TV,
media in general.
TV especially, movies.
Because you're on deadlines. You have these giant projects with these giant budgets, or considerably, and the problem is, and this is a problem that individual artists who just do small things like your city council wanting to hire an artist to make a 6-page long children's book that explains some basic shit or something. That is like every page is hand drawn. There's like 2 lines of text on each side and tells a little story. And they're gonna pay you $10,000-$20,000 if you're lucky for that, and you will work on that for a couple months. You have a deadline for that. And in the case of that individual artist, that sounds like, just 2 months, and I get 20,000 for that. Wow, that's awesome. Well, that may be the only project you get that year, and you want to finance the stuff you actually want to do. So that's a precarious situation in the first place. Now, if we say we want to make a decent-sized video game, and you don't have all the skills to make everything yourself. There are some of these insane projects where graphics, music, sound, gameplay, everything is made by one person. These are absolute outliers, and these people usually work on these things for many, many years and in their free time. If we look at it as a company thing, you have a couple people working on that. Depends on the size of the company, but these people need to get paid. You need and you need tons of other shit. You have a budget. You will work on this project not for 2 months and then get your income back. No, you may develop this thing for 2-3 years that you will not see a dime coming in. And as it is with all software projects, you get to the hot phase and there's tons of bugs. And you have to release this thing or you are going to be bankrupt. As happened with Troika Games, the people who made Vampire Bloodlines, I believe. They had to release they couldn't release their game for other reasons, being that it was the first game with the Half-Life 2 engine, and they were done with the main development process and had run out of money before Half-Life 2 came out, but they couldn't release because Well, Valve insisted that the first Half-Life game, that the first game with the Half-Life 2 engine be, of course, Half-Life 2, but Half-Life 2 didn't release. It was postponed and postponed and postponed, and then they couldn't release. Special situation, but your problem is you have this years-long project, and then you don't have income. And that is why many projects nowadays release early. If we talk in the 90s, you did not have the ability to patch your game. It was almost impossible to deliver a patch to the people, to the players. So your game, when it released, had to be as perfect as possible. So excessive playtesting was done as well before you released. That's something that doesn't really make it anymore.
Yeah, the subscription model to software wasn't in existence yet. It was for hardware, though. So if you were a company and you needed servers for storage or processing, you would just lease hardware from IBM and use their databases or their servers, and they have an update. They come in, they replace them all, do a software backup, do a reinstall, and that'd be great. It was a hardware upgrade. But there was no software subscription model for, there was no
delivery system for it.
Yeah, there was no way of doing it outside of...
the closest thing was later in the 90s, we had game magazines that had CDs that had patches on them.
Well, the same with Windows 95 and 98. You had to manually download the update and then run the executable and then...
Download? That requires internet.
Well, that's what I mean.
We were reliant on the gaming magazines because we didn't have internet.
Right. That's what I mean. Like late 90s had Windows 98 updates, but you had to still download them manually. So this is a thing that's been going on for at least 15 years. Games are released on time, but broken. And
what I wanted to get at with that is, your money runs out. You have to release at some point, and that is why crunch happens.
Well,
crunch is a natural product because we have tons more stuff to do, and we don't have time anymore.
Well, yeah, but I've been seeing...
And if we deliver a product that is too flawed, nobody will ever buy anything from us ever again, and maybe not even this, because word of mouth will go around that will say this game is a buggy mess that is unplayable.
Well, now we have a culture of gaming, or of, you want to say AAA, even amateur gaming, Kickstarter games, that they're in perpetual beta. The alpha's done.
Yeah.
The beta's is ready to go, or beta is gold, and the game's not even done. The game's at chapter 1 or chapter 2, and there's like 8 chapters you paid for, and you're waiting on that Kickstarter to hire more people, or there's a subscription model people have for games which are story-based games. So there's like 10 chapters and only the first 2 came out, and they got to keep using updates and get, Paystar or Subscribe Star. Like you have to sign up for you give them like how many bucks a month so they can afford rent and keep building the game, the next chapter of the game. So it's not just for patches and software problems and bugs. It's the actual game that's not done yet. And I've seen that with a lot of Kickstarter games. The biggest one so far is Baldur's Gate.
They never finish. And that's the opposite extreme of we have to release perfect game because we can't patch it. For example, on console games. Well, how do you update a console game on the Super Nintendo? Right. You don't. And
Capcom found a way.
But release the 12th version of Street Fighter.
Yeah. To just summarize that with the wise words of the late Total Biscuit, we do not pre-order.
Right. Anyway, let's get going.
PTSD and other such mental disorders due to the
Actually, hold on. Can you rewind a little bit? Because I want to read the title.
Yeah. Okay, so he's going into the thing that the
crunch
workers on
the
late
PTSD
Mortal
thing.
But the part that depresses me the most are the stories of employees that
Mortal Kombat 11 developer diagnosed with PTSD after working on gory scenes.
Yeah, I don't know if this is an actual serious thing or if this is just.
This is
it's real. It's real. I know for a fact.
Yeah.
This is so silly.
It's not silly. No, it's not silly. It's an actual problem.
If someone has a problem,
I get that, but is that the issue with violence?
It's because
yes.
No, it's because the the research into anatomic accuracy is so in-depth that if you look at it from certain ways, like the way the bodies are cut up, is anatomically correct to do, you could say, the cellular level. And if you do that in certain ways, it just looks like, horror movie alien shit.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
And some people do not stomach that well if exposed to it for a long time.
Okay, wait, slow down. When you are exposed to anything of high intensity emotional reaction, like you're falling out of a plane, you're on a roller coaster, anything which gets you going, right? Mm-hmm. Eventually your body will go, oh, this is happening again. This is happening again. And it keeps happening until you're like, oh, this is normal. This is not a high intensity, emotional, crazy. Yeah, visually it's very detailed, but this is like being a doctor or a surgeon, or learning to be a surgeon.
Yes, exactly. My thing is like you have to know what you're getting into.
I wanted to get into that because medicine students and surgery, when I get into surgery and such things, they also have to get used to that, and some can't stomach it. So many have this phase where they will first sight of blood, first time cutting up the voluntary medical corpse, they barf or faint or something. But they get over that eventually. They desensitize to that. The people who can't work in that field. This is a job that is very close to that, and there is also people who just work on medical renderings of the human body. That is the people you want to hire for Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, but this is
because they're used to that.
This is so overblown.
Yeah, but not necessarily.
I have worked. Okay.
There are people who work in the police who have to go through all the evidence from crime scenes.
That's great.
And they are not doing that on a constant basis. They have to take breaks from that, especially when it's about the kiddie stuff. They have to take breaks from that and get psychological evaluations and therapy on a regular basis so that they can keep working.
Okay.
Otherwise, they wouldn't. These people who get these reactions from working on this project are not cut out to work there. That's my point.
That may be the issue. However, it is art. It's not real. If you are having visceral reactions to H.R. Geiger's work or some other gory, bloody, organic, sort of disgusting-looking thing, you will eventually get used to it. Now, if you can't, I
don't get used to body horror.
I would highly question your capacity to be an artist in the first place. Now, maybe this person wasn't an artist. Maybe they were a designer. Maybe they were a programmer. Game tester.
I don't know, Smart. I don't think everybody needs to be able to to paint body horror.
Yeah, part of the issue is
nonsense.
The part of the issue is that what they had to go through for MK11 specifically, that's not what they signed up for ultimately. It was too much. And that's the problem.
Well, that's fine, but I don't see what the ultimate issue is that the video maker's trying to get at.
The working conditions of making this game were crunch and supposed psychological issues of working on a game.
My question, the question in the first place is, if you work for a company that makes Mortal Kombat games, why? If you can't take the violence, if you can't take the gore, if you can't take the medical accuracy of the human body.
Exactly. Because I will tell you,
why are you working there in the first place?
Any developer or artist who works on a video game is thrilled. It doesn't matter what the content is. It doesn't matter if they're doing a game for kids or a game for adults. They are thrilled to be there. And if they look at a gory body and go, oh my God, I'm going to throw up.
Well,
something's wrong with the story.
Can't you say that for games with violence in general? The way the technology is evolving and becoming more deep.
This is like telling the architect or the painter or the bricklayer that they're making a statue to the death god gore or whatever, and there's all these blood and guts. The things will make it look like it's not actual blood and guts. It's depicting that.
No. That's not the example I would take. I would rather say you are going to work for John Carpenter, helping him with his horror movies, and you can't take horror and body horror specifically.
But this is behind the scenes.
That is the problem.
This is not actual body. This is all drawn, visualized, 3D or 2D rendered art.
Smart, do you not understand that what is a facsimile? A rendition of a real thing that is not the real thing can evoke the same reactions in you as the real thing. Do you not understand?
Not after a week, not after 2 weeks, not after a month. This is the weirdest thing for people to be in art, because when you're in art, you visualize, you simulate, you have to figure out how does this work. You want the vivisections, you want to see the muscle, especially in detailed games like this, you want to see the muscle contract and expand. Mm-hmm. That's the point. So if you can get into that visually, your imagination is going to go crazy as opposed to whatever's on the screen. And that's a very, very well rendered graphics for gore. And if you can't take that, this is so ridiculous to me, because not only would you have adapted to it by then, but you wouldn't have not even started to get into the project, let alone the whole industry. So I find it very silly.
I agree with you that whoever this is chose the wrong company. That is the obvious part.
Maybe he thought he was going to work.
Every good artist will have an anatomy book at some point and draw anatomy under the skin, because you want to figure out how does this thing that is the human body actually work, so that you draw the lines right, so that you draw the muscles right, so that you draw the folds of the clothes right in certain poses. That's a normal thing. I would also agree with you that there should be a desensitization process, but whoever this person is here had absolutely no stomach for anything, and probably went into art for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a very technical person, but doesn't have the maturity or the growth to say, oh my God, I can't look at this or that, which is fine. Some people can't look at real depictions of gore, blood, etc. That's fine. But this is not. But their brain should immediately go, oh, this isn't real.
Maybe they thought they were going to work on the babality.
The babality. I want to be the babality animator. Yeah.
They're like, no, you're a fatality person. Go.
Yeah, I know. When Whisp was referring to medical technician, like technical 3D artists who do medical stuff, I've met a few of those, and they do exaggerations because you have to show the full extensions, and you have to show it in detail, because you can't just do a thin dude doing a muscle like a flex. There's no musculature. You can't see it. So you need a big buff guy with massive arms. You see all the layers, and
just like
whomever. And you want to do that. And then you do vivisections, and you have to go through every single vein and artery and muscle and bone. So it's like, this is normal. This happens all the time. So whether it's highly detailed in 2D or 3D art, I don't see the issue. But this is where our brain do not register this possible happenstance of someone having PTSD from working. Now, we could argue maybe they were working 12-hour days, and it was just constant. Like you get bored of anything.
Exhaustion, and maybe you get. The next problem can be that if you do something for long enough, constantly,
sure,
then you dream about it. Yeah, and then you get wonderful nightmares every night.
Yeah, so the content matter. This could be Kirby's Dream House or whatever. It doesn't matter what you're playing, what you're doing for 12 hours is going to drive you crazy. So that could be reality, true. So just the actual idea of this makes me laugh, because I've studied overexposure or oversaturation of stimuli. The brain and the body do not react the same way. They just don't. So.
Yeah. Oh, when I recently replayed all the Bayonetta games after Bayonetta 3, I dreamed Bayonetta play scenes.
Really?
game scene, gaming. Yeah. That happens to me relatively fast. It doesn't matter which game it is.
Okay.
Or whether that's StarCraft or some bullet hell thing. Bullet hell dreams are fun.
What? Bullet. I dream of R-Type. Okay.
If I can say one more thing about Mortal Kombat specifically, another factor to consider is the fact that NetherRealm Studios used to be Midway back then.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And a lot of people carried over from that, but even some of the veterans at the company were not prepared for what had to go into the recent games.
Right.
Because back then Midway did a little bit of everything. But then when they rebranded, when Warner Brothers bought them out and they became NetherRealm, most of what they did was Mortal Kombat, and they really had to play hard into that because that's what they knew best.
Yeah. Okay.
Wasn't there Injustice as well?
Yes man in the chat also says PTSD is overdiagnosed these days. That is also true, depending on the country. In some it's underdiagnosed. But in this case, I would guess that the potential for an overdiagnosis is there, and this may just be avoidance that has grown from overexposure. Not full-blown PTSD.
Okay.
Because full-blown PTSD is no fucking joke.
Let us keep going. Here's God004. Thanks for the super chat. Hello, everyone. That is all. Thank you so much. Hello.
Yeah.
And a donation from Steven. Hey, Steven, how's it going? Did you guys see that TikTok of a Zoomer complaining about working 8-hour shift at Starbucks? Does his potential PTSD mean working 8 hours is traumatic? Maybe that comic guy was thin-skinned. 8 hours is nothing.
Oh no, that was not it. That was not complaining about 8-hour shifts. That was complaining about a 20-hour work week.
I mean,
and you complain about being misgendered.
I mean, either way, either way, it doesn't hurt to ignore him anyway because it's Starbucks. Whatever, it's Starbucks and it's a Zoomer, so whatever.
Yeah. Just a week.
I thought it was a parody. I couldn't believe it was real.
See, the people who have PTSD in my family at least got it from proper shit.
Bullets.
We have do it right.
Well, we have several people with Stasi stories from East Germany.
Oh.
We have military deployment stories, all of that stuff.
I have Stoli stories from Poland. Anyway.
No, we don't have Poland stories. I think whoever could have had them is dead by now.
Oh, well, maybe from alcohol poisoning,
No.
Anyway, let's keep going.
No.
NetherRealm diagnosed with PTSD and other such mental disorders due to the violent content in the games they make. This is old news now, but I still feel it worth addressing. You see, as technology has progressed, it's meant that Mortal Kombat has had to continually raise the bar as far as gratuitous violence and gore. Because yes, that's what the series is known for, so they have to go further and further every time so they don't look like they're stagnating. It makes sense in theory, but that combined with the ever-present inching towards total graphical...
That was cool.
That was so creative. Cool. I was about to say that.
Is what and that's what I'm talking about. The other just cutting up at different angles, that's boring. And the part where I say that what he says that NetherRealm believes they have to do is probably correct, but I disagree with the whole idea that they just need to be more violent. No, they don't need to be more violent. They just need to be cool about their violence.
This on the screen is creative. It's nice.
This is it's creative and cool violence. That's what we need. Make that, do that. Yeah, that's why Bayonetta is cool. That's why Asura's Wrath is cool. That's why Kratos is cool.
That's why Doom is cool as well. But for Mortal Kombat specifically, this alone shows that this was a step in the right direction. And again, and like you said, it's the excess that's the issue.
Well, and then if it's just excess, then it's probably just a lack of creativity, because this here is what we need.
Yes,
creative violence.
Yeah, just like the Midway days. It's like you can have the violence, but the idea was to be cool about it, like you said. But
in the first Mortal Kombat game, there were you only had 7 characters, but the fatalities were, for example, there were also references to just classic movies like the punch to the heart to rip the heart out thing. It's a classic martial arts movie bullshit move.
And then the normies trying to come in saying that Liu Kang's fatality in the first game was bad, even though that was part of his character.
What does he do? Did he just have a special fireball thing?
No, the cartwheel with the uppercut, that was his, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The point with that, just before going back to the video, the point with his fatality, it's not an actual fatality, it's just, it was meant to play into his character because he's still a Shaolin monk. The Shaolin don't kill. And then they dropped that, the first chance they could.
Yeah, with Kung Lao, I think.
Yeah, starting with MK2, but it was a big factor of MK1, Liu Kang's character, because of his upgrading, because of his beliefs. And they dropped that immediately in the next game. And that's really a massive amount of wasted potential right there. Because could you imagine a series like this that revels in the violence so much, and then the guy that's supposed to be the main character doesn't kill? Is that not an interesting premise on its own? With how we know Mortal Kombat now.
No,
it's a subversion.
Yes.
No, let's do time travel.
It also shows you that he is the hero.
Yes.
No, but it's easier for them to do multiverses.
It was all there all along, and they immediately forgot.
Yeah, and even the godlike protector of the earth, Raiden, even he killed. But no, Liu Kang was the one that showed everyone up with that. That's why he won. That's why he's the one that wins Mortal Kombat in the first place. Because again, he's the hero. But just because he's the hero doesn't mean he has to kill.
Okay, good enough. Let's go.
Has resulted in NetherRealm employees having to look up detailed videos and pictures of grievous bodily harm and use that as inspiration to model and animate every detailed and clinical deconstruction of the human body. You can see how that would be traumatizing to some people, and that is certainly the case.
Is that really a process? They actually have to look up real life videos?
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about, Eric. Yes, they had to.
All right.
Yeah.
Resulted in at least one person at NetherRealm Studios reportedly having a lessening quality of life for the sake of their job. And in my opinion,
why do you work for Mortal Kombat?
Even one has to suffer, then it's not worth it.
Who's this guy with the guns? I've never heard of Aaron Black before.
He debuted in MKX.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know,
he's a very recent addition.
I have a very innocent question here. The people who make these horror splatter gore movies with really, really creative props and kills, are they looking at any stuff like that for inspiration and research?
I would say yeah, they would have to. Yeah.
I'd imagine with how accurate it can be sometimes.
Yeah, and that brings me back to the question: why do you work for a company that makes Mortal Kombat if you can't stand body horror, gore, whatever?
Well, again, they used to be Midway. They never expected to like zero in almost entirely on Mortal Kombat after the WB buyout.
How many decades has it been?
Before the WB buyout, I think it started in 92, so 17 years.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, I think that's enough time to realize whether you want to be in that company or not.
Yeah, but Mortal Kombat was not the only focus, and again, that was during the time where they went for the coolness and like playing into it rather than going full on like they are now.
I just failed to take this argument.
All right. Anyway.
It was a change for the worse after WB bought them out.
For how many years has this been?
Well,
this been Mortal Kombat focused?
We're talking.
They didn't have to look it up to this extent for, say, Deadly Alliance or Deception. There's no comparison.
All right, let's go.
I wanted to bring this up right off the bat because I feel that this is the smoking gun of the topic. This story has been disputed in various cases, but I really don't see the benefit in making this up. The fact that people are suffering...
So, this is a 2019 story, yes? Here it says, NetherRealm Studios was founded in 2010. So you have 9 years to realize whether this is the right company for you.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that. This was probably a new hire.
A lot of them were new hires, yes.
That completely defeats the purpose of your argument.
Well, the thing is, if you're in HR and they say we need an animator or an artist to research, blood and gore, are you okay with that? It's like, yeah, it's fine. And then they realize, oh no, I suck. I can't do this. It's like, well,
my argument is that the new hires from NetherRealm had it a lot worse than the people from Midway. That's what I'm saying. And they didn't, and it's like they didn't. It's like they thought they were new. The new hires now thought they knew what they were signing up for because, hey, Mortal Kombat, but they didn't realize how much worse they would end up having it. Now that we have all.
No, I don't buy that. I'm sorry, I can't buy that. The new hires know they sign up for Mortal Kombat and then have a problem with the gore and violence. No, I'm not. No matter the level of gore and violence, that argument does not count when you join the company that makes Mortal Kombat, knowing it makes Mortal Kombat and you know what Mortal Kombat is. No. You know you're going to get into that and you're not going to get to complain about the gore and violence.
All right.
For Mortal Kombat to be what it is, quite frankly, should not be necessary, especially when you take into consideration that it wasn't until MK9 that things even started to become this over the top. When you look at the fatalities of yore going back as far as the first few games, and even up to the end of the Midway era, most fatalities were over in a flash and weren't excessively brutal. Some of them even got into the realms of parody, like Quan Chi ripping off your leg and beating you to death.
Right.
Or in Mortal Kombat 3.
Dude, just portray those very fatalities with the tech of today and they look exactly like the stuff that we have today. Ripping out a limb and beating you with it, yeah, that's a bit comical, but it's also bloody brutal.
Bull exploding with 3 skeletons worth of bones. That's so absurd, it's funny. And even then, if you were to demake a lot of the more gruesome aspects of the modern games into the early digitized sprite era, or even into the 3D era, it still wouldn't be as bad. Because on one hand, sprites and crude 3D models have enough separation from reality that you can't have the same detail that you would in a more contemporary game. Therefore, you wouldn't have to do the same amount of rigorous research in order to achieve that detail. A complex sprite animation or crude 3D animation is never going to be as shocking as a real or almost real equivalent. And also, I'd imagine a skilled person could probably make these sprite animations or these 3D animations in a couple of days max. So even if somebody was disturbed by this back in the day, they probably wouldn't have to look at it for very long. But with modern technology, it takes weeks and an entire team to achieve these complex CGI.
Have you ever wondered about the people who make the props for horror movies?
Like a John
who
Carpenter
work on
film
that
or something?
Yeah. That is... They're not working on that for a few hours.
Well, that's
props. Some of the props that were used for the Ghost in the Shell movie, the like unfolding robot heads, that can be disturbing for some people already. Oh no!
I don't think people working in props and cosmetics and makeup and costume. I've met some of those people. They're kind of, I wouldn't say they're weird and goofy, but they're really sensitive, and they dress really fantastically at times. So they're okay.
Well, there are people whose work is defined by attention to detail.
Yes, they're very sensitive to colors and textures and what material they're using and how that works with lighting and all the details that you would go into if you were a technical person making a thing. You're basically a seamstress with a side order of lighting, like you're an electrician. You're a little bit of a mechanical genius because you have to figure out animatronics in some cases. So I don't know if you guys ever watched those shows back on Discovery of like a decade ago where it was like you have to make this horror creature and they had different like masks you have to create or body you have to put onto an actor and makeup you have to do. Like all these skills, all these colors, all these fabrics. And I now they have like cake competitions or whatever, but Discovery was kind of back in the day. Mm-hmm. So yeah, all these people were like really sensitive, and some of them are just like normal looking dudes. Just like I'm Jeff, I'm really good at makeup. So there's a whole science and artistic sense to these things, and that's real. Like that's like how to make something. This is not. This is all 3D.
Yeah, and you have similar people working in archaeology, for example, where they try to figure out how did the skeleton remains, how did the people look, whose skeletons these are, because you can tell just by the bones where which muscles are attached and how big they would have been, and that's super interesting stuff. The thing is, and this is why I'm so vocal about this topic here. I myself have issues with body horror stuff, and I didn't get PTSD from it. It's just something that got worse from or through that.
But I would bet you
that's a different thing.
If you were an artist and you worked on this project, you would get used to it. You would probably like, oh yeah. So.
Yes. And this is why I'm saying, like, I find people who work on props like that, sometimes I find that much more interesting than the movies themselves, because this is what I see as actual art, because it's beyond belief what these people can create for me.
Yeah.
But the same kind of mindset I would expect in making the gore happen in Mortal Kombat on a screen with 3D models. Why are there people now that have problems with that? Is that just for clout? Are they faking it even?
Yeah,
because why are you working? I would not. The thing is, what I'm trying to say with this, I would not work in these jobs. I find the work amazing, but I would not work there because this would not be for me.
Yeah, I really want to read that medical report from whatever examiner did it for that person.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we've argued about this enough. Let's keep going.
Yeah. These animations don't just get made themselves in a vacuum. I'd imagine that if you're looking at these for weeks on end, shooting for total realism, and don't have the context of doing it for fun like the average player might, it probably gets burnt into your skull in all the wrong ways. And for somebody who's not prepared for that, yeah, it's definitely not good for you. And I'm sure that some people might say that these developers need to know what they're getting into before accepting the job with NetherRealm,
yes!
But guess what? Sometimes a job is a job, and you can't get picky.
What?
No. Sometimes you can. Yes, you may need a job, but if you know you cannot do this job, don't take the job.
Yeah, it's like,
because
if I'm gonna...
as we see, this means that you fail at the job and you have to leave the job because you couldn't do it in the first place. Which means you also endangered the whole fucking project for everyone else.
Yeah,
This is not that the project now needs to be nicer so that it can accommodate your frail physique or psyche.
Yeah, the people in
imagine saying that about surgery.
Well, yeah, the people in any entertainment industry really they don't get paid much. I mean, some of them do, but if you're in gaming, if you're in movies, you're in TV, you are there because you love it. You love the process, you love the long hours, you love the work. And maybe horror film isn't your thing, or gory, violent video games aren't your thing, but if you're doing things artistically, your brain should be able to figure that out very quickly. Like, oh yeah, I'm just drawing a picture.
Yeah, but I don't buy that you're not going to know what you're going to get into.
I know.
This is I think the argument sounds like, I want to be an actress, but all the job openings are for porn.
Yeah. Well,
I can't choose my job, right? I know what I'm getting into, and I just have to do it because I have to pay the bills. No. That's a question of dignity.
I know. But it's even dumber than that, because it's like, well, I'm making a porn game. I didn't know I was doing that. It's so too much for me.
It's like, I didn't know there was going to be violence. It's like, what? There are other games besides Mortal Kombat.
Well, no, most games that are AAA are going to have some degree of violence. So it's like, all right, well, depending on the level, because it's so visceral and lifelike, that's probably the trigger. But it's like after the 70th time in that 1 week, I think you'll go like, oh yeah, this is happening again. Oh yeah, it's.
But are you? That's what I don't get. You're going to compromise your mental health for what? How much are you going to get paid?
Yeah, that's another issue.
Is it really that worth it? If it's not worth it, maybe don't take it.
I'm starving. I really need to work. Yeah.
I'd say the crunch is worse for your health.
Yeah, exactly.
Than that. And Costume Joe in the chat, I would also guess that some people with the not super extreme PTSD, because there's it's a gradient, might even go into jobs like this for exposure, because they could work through the desensitization. Certainly just a minority, but I can imagine people like that with when it's less intense condition. Sure thing.
Okay.
I have a friend who graduated from some game design school a while back, I don't remember which one, and he's had interviews with 4 or 5 big game developers, including Rockstar Games. Despite getting that far that many times, none have offered him an actual position. So what that tells me is that finding work in the industry, especially for a newcomer, is a pain in the ass.
If you want to work in this industry, you will face way worse problems than if you go scenes in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, getting a job in the video game industry is tough, because if you're a newbie, you have to give them a portfolio that showcases, okay, if you're a programmer, what have you programmed? It doesn't matter what. Yeah. It could be a demo, it could be a module to a game engine like a Mutator in Unreal, it could be a level in Neverwinter Nights. It doesn't matter what it is. They just want to see what you can do. For art, it's a whole other issue, because they're looking for a very particular style for their very specific image of whatever they're trying to produce. So what's the game that just came out, or Obsidian's making Penitent, I think? It's a murder mystery set in the Middle Ages, and everything feels like a Byzantine 2D artwork flip book or whatever. It's like, this is a crazy art style. And
then you need the right communication design for it too,
right?
The user interface
and the language
that needs to be. That's usually done by other people.
Yeah, and the language is ye old Middle Eastern or whatever, not Middle Eastern, Middle Ages. I don't know what to call it. Old English maybe. So there's all these elements that give you this specific. That's just how it looks and how it reads, let alone the sound and the music and all. Like, again, you're looking for exactly the same sounds you need for that game, exactly the type of music. So you have to go check out, I don't know, a Renaissance Fair group, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
and especially in that industry, when you're new, consider coming to the office with a sleeping bag.
You can't just hire random music guy or random programmer guy. It has to be very specific.
Yeah. And you can't tell me that you don't already know how that works, because then what fucking art school did you go to? Because I know students in my town that when they went through their master projects, they stayed at the uni with their sleeping bags just so they could keep working on the fucking project and not lose time.
Yeah, that happened.
That's a normal thing in the dedication of art.
Yeah, that happened a few times.
Just the art alone.
With myself and my team when I was at video game school, and it's like you're waiting for one computer to finish rendering, but you got this physics projects to finish. You have to go over there and figure that out. You had a project to finish as well for the end of the year. So you stay overnight, and that's why you eat at like 10:30 and you go to bed at 2 a.m. and you wake up at 7, and if you're lucky, and you keep working, and that's the weekend. So this is on a Friday night. So you got the deadline isn't the issue. It's like you realize you have so much work to do.
The point where you can afford to be more leisurely about it. That is a decade in the making.
Well, yeah, that's when you think of like doing an independent study unit for like high school. It's like, okay, you have like, 10-page essay, you have your experiments. They'll take, a day or a week or however long the experiment takes. Then you write it up and you're done. Media, you got to figure out a month in advance rendering time, final models. If you're talking about certain engines, they want low res or high poly, so you have to do 2, which also implies you have to do 2 levels of texture mapping and all the shaders that work well on that to make sure it looks right, make sure there's no clipping, make sure there's no hit detection that overlaps. It's this whole process. So that is the problem with video games, at least when I was doing it. Nowadays it's probably even more technical, but not as brain dissolving to get these things figured out.
There is of course a problem with the balance of resources versus and of which time is one. That often it seems or feels like the project is paint a Sistine Chapel with a 10th of the money and a 5th of the time.
Oh Yeah, well.
Yeah, that's probably not gonna work well, and you probably have to do night shifts. And I said the sleeping bag thing.
Yeah.
That's just expected. But if you know you can't stomach this, why do you even write an application to NetherRealm? I know you need a job, but if you know you're gonna break on that because of visuals,
yeah,
why?
It's very strange. As we talked about going into surgery, you want to be a doctor and you can't stomach cadavers.
Oh, we need to change the work environment where the brains of the patients are less gory for the brain surgeon.
Yeah, this is. I mean, come on.
I imagine if you're at university, it's like you're going to be trained from the beginning, right?
Right.
You'll be thrown out of med school immediately.
There's
if you complain about the patient's bodies being too gory.
There's a big difference between putting formaldehyde near your nose and drawing a cadaver. There's a huge difference. So it's it's kind of silly. It's kind of weird.
I just feel like everything is building up to this moment, and so that's why I can't buy queasy on it.
Yeah, also this is like, I have a chlorine allergy, which is mainly annoying. It's not super bad. You just get these little blisters in like your arm folds, your elbow folds, for example, that then need to be cut out. But it's like having that chlorine allergy, and then working at a public swimming pool. Yeah, because you like swimming. I mean, okay, you like swimming, but
I'll save your life.
That's you can't be in that environment where you have chlorine in the air and especially in the water all fucking day. That's just dumb.
All right.
You need another job.
Halfway done. We've been harping about this too much. I hope he changes the topic.
Probably just took the offer of work at NetherRealm because they were the first or possibly only studio to offer them a job. If you're just trying to get by in the industry you've been trained in, you don't deserve to be scarred for life. It's not about knowing what you're getting into, it's about being able to survive. And sometimes you need to take a job that you wouldn't necessarily take otherwise, or don't fit optimally at in order...
Yeah, but then you look for a new job.
Exactly. Like, you can't get mad at what you signed up for. You knew what was going to happen.
And in most media projects, it's all about passion. So if you're passionate, even if you're not as experienced or as skilled, someone will hire you because you are so gung-ho that they look at you and say, oh, this is a guy who's going to draw me level 2 all night because he loves it. And
I just imagine any job. It's like, how much are you going to sacrifice in order to become the best of the best?
Yeah, I will see people hire people not because they're the most experienced, because they're the most excited. They're so thrilled just to be getting an interview. Like, oh my God, I'm at Google, and we're going to be talking about Android phones. Oh my God, I love Android phones. And they did like maybe 2 months of programming experience or something. They don't care.
Well, I can train them, right? I can mold them into the person I want them to be, right?
Right, yeah.
I am still trying to wrap my head around this, and Abigail in the chat says something that is relevant for this. I would say there's a misconception that working for a game company will be fun and cool instead of the work it actually is, and especially teenagers have that misconception.
Yeah,
and there are a lot of people who study IT programming at university. Not because they're actually interested in programming, but because I've played video games in my free time when I wasn't in school, so I'm becoming a game designer. I'm going to make video games.
Everything.
Fuck off. Go away.
Everything
don't do it. Leave it.
In software development has a practical function. So even the artistic elements, if you're an idea guy, like a creative type, you have to then plan out how that works. You can't just say, here's my idea or here's my story. You have to actually do the writing and do the planning. So you have to do the heavy lifting eventually. You can't just sit there and say, this is unless you're like you're hired specifically to do just the artwork or just the one thing. And that's fine. You're a contractor. But in most cases, you are there to work your ass off. And if something breaks, everyone has to stop and go fix it and make sure that the level 1 can continue, because what's the point if you can't get level 1 to work? You can't forget level 2. So there's this whole concept of this is software. Yes, there's lots of moving media parts, but it's still software. I could hire anyone to do the artwork. And I could throw it in any shape or angle, and I'll figure that out later.
Yeah, and if if any of you listeners have any friends, acquaintances who are a little bit older, late 20s, maybe 30s, maybe 40s, and they're working in IT and working in real companies, big stuff, and do the programming, even the server admins. They don't need to be in game companies. Ask them, what's your work week like? And ask them, how often are you called in your off hours to fix a thing because someone screwed something up, or because you have to crunch now over the weekend because the bloody thing has to work by a deadline that somehow, because something happened, can't be reached, or because the bloody customer had another feature request that was not talked about, but you need to implement it anyway, because otherwise you lose that fucking customer, and that's now a week before the deadline, and it will screw up everything. But it needs to be done, and it's horrible. And game companies making video games, I agree with Ego Dreamer here. From all I've heard, is one of the most brutal parts of the IT industry. If you don't have the passion for it, if you don't have the love for the genres made by the company, you're in the wrong place.
All right.
No excuse of PTSD will solve that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like saying, I have wartime PTSD. I'm gonna work for a movie company that makes war movies. Like, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
All right, so
maybe you want to make movies, but maybe you don't want to go to that company that makes only war movies.
Let's keep going. Hopefully, he'll change topics because we've exhausted ourselves here.
Yeah, I think so.
To survive.
Yeah.
So even if this person or people already had pre-existing issues that were there before they took the job, and this story is the development simply worsening those pre-existing conditions, that still comes back to the fact that it's entirely possible they didn't necessarily want the job at that specific studio. And even if that were the case, it's not a matter of whether or not they should have taken the job. It's a matter of whether or not people are suffering to make these games. And that's simply unacceptable regardless of any way you swing it.
No, people suffer in this industry or everywhere for various reasons. And that will not change. You must have an absolutely perfectly played in, like for many years, played in a group of your employees in your different sections that are there for various different aspects of making the game, and know how long will each section take to make what, so that you can perfectly plan the budget and then also plan room for fixing things that will definitely go wrong, because there will always be things that will go wrong. Then maybe you can plan your project in a way where you will have less crunch, or maybe none at all, which is unlikely, because especially in the last phase, you will just be bug fixing, and it will drive people crazy.
Well, at least
if you don't have this perfect team where where everybody fits like a cog into each other, this won't be possible, and things will just go to shit. And yeah, the people will suffer, because that's the industry. That's the IT industry. It's not Twitter. We know where they just learned, thanks to Elon Musk, that you actually have to come to the office, and not just that, bring a sleeping bag, because you now have to actually work. That's what's happening there right now. No more 30 days stay at home for mental health crap that you get fully paid. No, you have to come to the office and work. Oh no, a real company.
You say to be able to plan everything out so that they're able to like fix whatever, and then I'm just like, with Mortal Kombat, there's no fixing the story.
That's enough. That's a whole nother issue. Stories in fighting games are their own worst nightmare in the first place, but Mortal Kombat is that's beyond anything. That's beyond Soul Calibur broken.
Almost all fighting game stories nowadays are hot garbage.
Soul Calibur 6 at least tried to do it right by just having a fixed plot.
Well, it rebooted.
6 Soul Calibur?
Yes.
It says 6, but they basically just reset the timeline back to Soul Calibur 1.
Which is okay, because you can't have any other timelines going, because they all contradict each other and make no sense.
Well, there is only one timeline.
Even if Siegfried is always the winner, it doesn't matter.
True.
I just remember the one with Darth Vader.
That's 4.
That was a good one.
Yoda was broken as hell in 4.
Yeah, but he was also just a joke character.
Okay.
Not really, but it was. They ended up treating him like that, yeah, because of a height.
Fatality him.
Look, every Soul Calibur but 2 is shit anyway.
Okay, let's go.
My brother.
Whoa.
Giga Man, what happened? You're in a tunnel.
You're like far away from the mic.
He's falling into a black hole.
Like, Spud, where are you?
Still here.
Are you in crunch time?
Hold on.
Get back.
Maybe somebody fatality Giga Man. I don't know.
That better?
It's like you're fighting a battle with your mic and we don't know what's going on.
What did you say?
I've changed nothing. What happened?
You fell through a portal.
All right, let's keep going.
That's discussion for me. And I don't think it should be an unpopular take.
Bye.
I think that's just basic human decency. The same thing applies for The Last of Us 2, where similar...
Wait, what?
No.
Hold on.
No, this is... No.
I need to re-listen to that again.
No, we're keeping going. We're good.
Well, he's going on about the crunch after all.
Yeah, let's talk about crunch in general. It's like, I don't care.
Look, the problem about the crunch in Last of Us 2 is because... what was his stupid name? The Naughty Dog guy? Yeah, he scrapped the entire game to remake it in his own insane, disgusting, depraved image.
You want to talk about PTSD?
And fired a competent and accomplished woman in the gaming industry in order to preach his feminist message. Never forget that.
By having someone get pounded in the...
Well, thankfully, Bacon Man also thinks the game is hot garbage like us, so at least something.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is
but
news.
I want to attribute that to Mortal Kombat.
Don't worry, everyone knows about this.
We'll go back to that in a moment, yes.
Let's keep going.
Stories came out. That was another case of people suffering to make a game. It doesn't matter which studio it is, it's horrible regardless. I think that kind of brings into question whether or not this is all necessary. You know what I mean? The escalation of these things happened because of an attitude of, we can do...
Oh, Naughty Dog was not necessary. That was solely the product... The horrible working conditions there were solely the product of a completely narcissistic, insane development leader. In other gaming companies, it's just a normal product of the process and the resources available, especially in AAA titles, because those are giant projects with insane amounts of people that you have to somehow coordinate. And there's this planning, this magical planning thing that I said before. There's basically a battle plan. How long does a battle plan work? Until the battle starts.
Yeah, I think he's trying to be disingenuous by trying to combine Naughty Dog with other studios.
Well,
I think he's
just
naive about it. I would say he's naive about it.
We've heard these stories for decades. It's not anything new.
Do it, so why shouldn't we? Nobody ever really stops to consider if it's really a necessary inclusion for the end product. Would the depiction of intestines being ripped out piece by piece be the thing that pushes a 9 out of 10 into a 10 out of 10 for anybody? And while it may not appear like it, it's entirely possible to be brutal without being so over the top that you have to subject your employees to these harsh conditions. Let's just take a look at Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, a game where the fatalities have a bit of a mixed reception, but it's a good showcase of potential creativity. In that game, the heroes have what are called heroic brutalities, moves that aren't going to kill you, but are going to end a fight no doubt. Some of these were kind of lame, but Green Lantern's was one of the best fight-ending moves not only in the game, but in the series. He grabs you with the Green Lantern ring and crushes you in a bubble. It's brutal,
that kills you.
It's effective, and most importantly, it's not gratuitous. Not a single drop of blood is spilt, not a single limb severed, but it gets its point across incredibly and would make...
That pressure can easily push out blood through your skin.
He broke his spine. You're telling me that didn't kill him?
Yeah, and just from the but it did kill him without looking bad, without showing blood. Moves like this, they will be able to push out blood just through your skin by just the sheer amount of force, the motion, what is the inertia.
Well, if I may add to the record, everything wrong with the fatalities in MK versus DC is the blame is entirely on WB on this. No matter how you slice it.
Yeah, you could take this sort of reaction to someone with a fear of tight places or enclosed places. So it's not just visual; it's the idea of this happening to you, and lots of things could trigger a fear. So, but we don't have to go this far. All we have to say is this does not match the world of Western superheroes very well, and I'm sure DC.
What does this have to do with claustrophobia?
Well, whatever the fear may be, like we could say, oh, it's not very violent, but to other people, well, they see this and this could be enclosed space fear or whatever you want to call.
Okay.
The issue was just never. This was a game that, like, I don't know why it happened. I don't know who asked for it.
I blame WB.
Ask WB
why the hell they got interested in Mortal Kombat all of a sudden.
It does feel like it's off-brand just by seeing these images.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
We want the publicity of your cool brand, but can you take out what makes your brand cool, please, so that it fits with our company image?
Again, that proves the point. Everything wrong with this game is entirely WB's fault.
All right.
And he's trying to blame the audience for what they want. It's like, how much did this make good sales, by the way?
When did he say the audience?
Well, because he's like, people like this sort of thing, and maybe they shouldn't.
Well, that's just the developer's fault for falling into this crap.
If I'm going to get a Mortal Kombat game, I'm getting it for one reason: the violence.
Mm-hmm. I expect that to be there.
Yeah, but the difference here is the access.
I'd feel I'd be frauded if it wasn't there.
Well, it's not the violence; it's the excess of the violence.
Yeah, his idea is that because
I expect excess of violence in Mortal Kombat. That's the point. The excess is the point.
That's
argument, what I expect in Mortal Kombat.
His argument is the violence is simple. It's a different. It's like we could say the same thing about the one with the Sub-Zero one because that's clever. It's a different form of fatality. It's still violence.
And you know what? Then goes.
Yeah, but what he's getting at is the complexity of the violence, I suppose, because you can tear out spine, eyeballs, heart, intestines.
Vivisections are more visceral than compressing someone.
It's like it's becoming more detailed, and it's going to be scary when it sort of looks like real life itself. And I'm just. What happens when we start cutting the dick off? Oh no!
Yeah, this is the same argument with people who don't like slasher films. It's like it's fine. No one says you have to watch them, but if you're gonna go play a Mortal Kombat game, you expect it, so it's fine.
Yeah, and you're probably not gonna work on in an ambulance that works on it generally will not work for an ambulance. You will also especially not deal with highway accidents. Because you can't stand it to go out there and then your superior tells you to go look for the 3 missing pieces of brain of the motorcyclist because, they're still missing.
All right.
Have fun.
Even the most jaded player wins without falling into the same issues that recent games have fallen into. Garrus in Mortal Kombat 11 could have had a fatality like this, crushing you in his stance. And honestly, I think the whole heroic brutality thing is something that NetherRealm should really go back to. Back when Mortal Kombat really only had the tower mode and didn't try for any more characterization, it might have fit for every character to wantonly kill their opponents in ridiculously over-the-top ways. But now that you're attempting more in-depth storytelling, it just seems odd to me that Johnny Cage would be so keen to rip open someone's chest cavity and do a parody of The Shining. A character's fatality should be more in line with their personality rather than just
That is in line with his personality.
Exactly, and that wasn't even
He's
that
an
violent.
actor. He's
just
an
opened his
actor.
fist.
He's an actor with really silly moves.
Yeah, I don't know
Like
how
he does the Van Damme spread legs thing to then punch your genital.
I guess the guy's spine just disappeared. Where'd it go?
Exactly. How is this overly violent?
Yeah.
It's just silly gore.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like okay. Who has seen Brain Dead? My God, I have body horror issues, and I'm the only one who's seen Brain Dead. That is sad.
Oh.
I guess.
Maybe that's why.
Okay, that's the zombie movie. That's the zombie movie with the lawnmower. We run out of items to kill the zombies with. There's a lawnmower in the corner. Let's hold up the lawnmower and run it through the zombies. It's great. It's great. And that's the level of gore that Mortal Kombat does. It's silly,
when did that come
over
out?
the top, excessive bullshit.
When did that movie come out?
That's pretty old. I don't even know. It might be a Carpenter movie.
All right.
It's like, is that where Doom took cues from to use a chainsaw as a weapon? What the fuck?
No, the chainsaw is just evil. It's just Army of Darkness.
And I don't get what the point was the story mode. It's like Injustice does the same thing. You do super moves on normal humans that should be dead.
Brain Dead was Peter Jackson.
Cool.
1992. If
All
you
right.
haven't seen it, watch it.
All right.
Brain Dead is an actually good movie.
Okay. Here we go.
Gory for the sake of being gory. People like Sonya Blade, Johnny Cage, Jax Briggs, Liu Kang, and even Raiden should have this in mind. It makes sense from a fight psychology standpoint for them to have quote-unquote fatalities that incapacitate their opponents in brutal ways but doesn't kill them, because they're the good guys.
What?
They should be above killing unless
They're
absolute.
called fatalities.
Yeah, but when you... Oh my god. It's
Dude, when you
separate from the story mode, from the characters. It's not the same thing.
If he's
Injustice
arguing...
Even that aside, somebody like Raiden, who's protector of the Earth, he understands what true and ultimate evil is. And true and ultimate evil, I'm sorry, you don't let that live.
Yeah, but he's making the argument that because within his character they could have no fatalities but have like a finishing move which isn't violent, which is like, well, if you're going to do that, why not everyone just have a non-violent finishing move? Like what's...
Well, I don't know why he's using Mortal Kombat 11 for an example, because now you got multiverses bullshit, so you got evil Raiden and good Raiden, so...
Yeah, but that's the thing.
No. At least MK11 didn't go multiverse. That's Bayo 3's bullshit.
Well...
No, that game doesn't
what
exist.
are you talking about?
Moving on.
Anyway, the idea is he's saying it's within character to do a certain maneuver. It's like, well, okay, that's fair, but you could do that with everyone else as well if you really wanted to go that route, and then everything would be the same. So you still have the violence, but now you have another finishing move, which is you're just adding more features.
Or you know what? Because you're a player, maybe you don't have to fatality your opponent. You just punch them in the face or make them into a baby.
Oh yeah, and the fatality is a choice.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Anyway,
this is I'm sorry. With all due respect, this is Christian mom bullshit.
Talking about
I've heard the same shit 20 years ago.
Imagine this was just a movie and he's talking about John
25
Carpenter.
years ago. A quarter century ago.
John Carpenter's too violent. We can't have on the screen chainsaw massacre. We can only do blood splatter off screen, okay guys? It's like, what?
Metal is way too violent. It sings about demons and blood and gore and glory.
It's not within his character to use a chainsaw. He should have used a gun far away or something. It's like, what? No.
It's so
the
weird.
Brothers Grimm fairy tales are too violent. Oh no, we need to Disneyfy them.
This is the same guy who would perfectly defend the God of War games. That's what I find.
Yeah.
Well, because I guess it's because it has less polygons.
Argument
and therefore then that makes the violence okay.
He's making
counter argument out of War 3.
Yeah, he's making the argument from character, which is fine, but you're talking about a fighting game, and you're saying this character wouldn't have a violent maneuver, and you're like, yes, they're martial artists. Yes, they would. Even Shaolin monks fought in lots of wars and they killed people. It would happen. It's not outside the realm that Ryu from Street Fighter could, in fact, kill someone because he's a fighter. He can kill people. He decides not to, but it's not out of the question that he could.
Well, as far as I understand Mortal Kombat, like as the story always went on, it started to become a war, right? Because the Elder Gods are all mad and all this other. That's why you had Armageddon.
It would be weird if Mortal Kombat was not violent. I'd be like, this is strange.
Yeah, then it's not Mortal Kombat. Then it's Christian.
Well, maybe
combat.
I should play a different game.
It's non-violent combat or something.
Christian combat.
It's called boxing. I don't know. Boxing.
A mortal
Christian
that?
combat with a K. And Abigail in the chat says, turns out this attitude isn't exclusive to Christian moms. And yes, that's my entire point. Because, and these people that are not actually Christian moms, they hate being called that. They hate being compared to them, but they have the exact same positions. So comparing them to that forces them to think it over, what they're actually saying.
I think
this guy, for example, would probably say, but it's more nuanced. I am actually fine with the violence, just not this much violence. Many of those are the same.
I think we can compare this to comic books with like the Punisher and say, okay, the Punisher's a little too violent. Maybe he can still kill people. Like we don't care. He's a Punisher. That's what he does. But maybe not have all this blood and gore like crazy. And I'm sure there's comics where it goes over the top with blood and gore, and there isn't. So it's just his preference to have, I would like my characterization be in the gameplay more, as opposed to, well, this is a game about violence. So you should have violence. And if it's fun, you should have other things like babalities, which they still have, as far as I remember. So...
they have friendships now. But babalities, I think it stopped.
Oh, they stopped babalities? Okay, I can't remember.
They stopped babalities after 2011, and friendships started in MK2.
Yeah. So there are, or you do nothing, and the timer runs out, and the guy just falls down.
Or you just give him a normal punch to the face.
Yeah, I think this is like he wants an ending where, in like Metal Gear Solid, you could trank everyone, like have a no-kill run-through. Or the same with Deus Ex. There's also that slight kind of ending where you have a no-kill run-through.
Well, but even in the story mode, it's like, well, you don't actually get to kill anybody. You're fighting the character that they're fighting you, and then next chapter you do the same thing. Next chapter, whatever.
Yeah.
The chapter system. The chapter system is bogus, though.
Yeah, the fighting is separate from the story, and he's like arguing that it should be one and the same.
Which is fine, but in a violent video game, you have to give the storytelling reason for that. You can't just assume, well, they're heroes, therefore they're good. It's like, but they're in a violent combat tournament.
The story of Mortal Kombat I take as seriously as the violence, and vice versa.
Well, I know that Giga made that point with the movie, and that was the adaptation.
That didn't have the violence.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah, but then it gets weird because you're playing as a movie actor Johnny Cage versus a god or like noob.
Well, but Johnny Cage has powers, don't you know?
Well, before the powers, right?
Well, he always had the powers. That's the thing.
I know.
And Shang Tsung was so over the top.
Hold on. I'd use Stryker from Mortal Kombat Night. He was just a cop.
That point I'll give you, yes.
It's like, and he's fighting Kratos. It's like I don't know.
Well, Kratos is just PS3. He's not even there anyway. But yes, you are right.
But you know what I mean, like Sub-Zero or Scorpion. It's like how is a normal cop able to do all this?
Yeah, I mean, Stryker has always been a dumb idea in Mortal Kombat anyway. I mean, in his debut game, he looked like a fucking pizza boy. So I'll give you that
one. All right.
Yeah, I do see where you're coming from with that, yeah.
I mean, that's how it goes down in the story most times. How many times has Kano canonically skirted death because of this? It makes sense to me if Jax Briggs, for example, whom is a special force operative whose moveset is modeled after professional wrestling, incapacitates his opponents using something like a burning hammer. Breaks their neck, maybe knocks them out, but doesn't kill them. Or how about this? Shao Kahn broke Kotal Kahn's back using what is basically a leaping torture rack. I refuse to call it a rack attack. That could be a good heroic brutality for Jax, just with a little bit more fanfare to set it up. Then there's Raiden, for example, who can use lightning in any number of creative ways to incapacitate but not kill. Or how about Liu friggin' Kang? His cartwheel uppercut combo from the first game is arguably the first heroic brutality in the series. I think it's an interesting creative challenge to retain the characteristically brutal nature of the series without being gratuitous. That way the developers don't need to suffer in the future. And even the characters who would kill, you don't have to be so crazy with it. For example, Kotal Khan. I always thought that one grapple attack where he bathes in your blood is a bit too unsurvivable to just be a standard attack. What if you were to alter that to just make it his fatality? Or if you want to get a little bit more ridiculous, what if he summons a sunbeam to bake you alive until you melt or explode into giblets, Ark of the Covenant style, until...
So you just want tamed down child-appropriate killings. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds? It sounds like you want Mortal Kombat to be less violent than Brutal Legend.
I'm just like the face melting from Ark of the Covenant is tame.
Yeah, that's fucking gory as shit. Are you kidding me?
Like, that's tame, Wisp? Really?
His fucking face melts. His eyeballs are going in the back of his skull. It's like, what? How?
I'd say that fits Mortal Kombat pretty damn well.
Yeah, we have the Indiana Jones scene, but I'm just he wants to tone everything down in general. And the first thing that springs to my mind is memories from playing Brutal Legend that the images are more brutal than what most of the stuff he's describing here.
Yeah, well.
This is bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah, but you don't say tone down the violence and then use gory violence to make your argument.
When you melt Nazis with the magical power of God, yeah, okay, it's okay, I guess.
The Ark of the Covenant. Like, what?
He's not a Christian mom at all. No, he just likes Spielberg. That's okay.
No, it shouldn't be that gory.
but
gory.
The gory the way I like it.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Don't melt the face entirely. Melt it halfway. Okay.
Oh, I really like hot, spicy stuff, but don't use the hot sauce, please.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off.
Give me a bell pepper. I'm good with that.
Nothing.
If you have a capsaicin allergy,
if you do it right, you won't need to model anything that will require research into the less pleasant parts of.
Oh, so now he's going back to the argument that they did research and it was PTSD inducing. Like, okay, whatever.
Oh no.
Or even Shao Kahn, who relishes in brutalizing his opponents, could stand to be a little bit more to the point.
Oh God.
But he's a fucking tyrant. What?
More to the point. I'm going to just kill you. Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna say it. First world problems.
He is ruining.
Absolutely, and every aspect of this is complaining about first world problems.
He's ruining his setup argument from the start, which had some merit, and then he got to the whole character-based violence. I'm like, that's good. And now it's just like, well, maybe the characters shouldn't do this as violently. It's like,
because there's only one direction that argument can go. Is like the violence needs to be more creative, not.
Yeah, because Shao Kahn is violent. You don't tone him down. That'd be boring. Why would you?
Any of these fights look as if any hit is not meant to kill the other? Have you seen that giant hammer? Anyone gets whacked with that, you're dead. You're just dead.
The violent game is too violent. We need to make it less violent. So neuter all the characters who are violent, make them nice, and the guys who are the evil tyrants.
God, just use that same argument for like Call of Duty. We need to tone down on like militarism, and guns. And, like, oh my God, what are we playing at this point?
Imagine the detail. And another thing that got press was Soldier of Fortune when it came out, because you could shoot people's body parts off, and they would ragdoll away and whatever. So that was like a big deal because it's all his blood and guts. But imagine saying, well, you shouldn't have done that much detail, game designers. You could just shoot the people in the arms and then they would just die. That'd be better. It's like, no, that would defeat the purpose of making the game. You made the game to have that level of detail, to have that visceral experience that when you shoot someone with a 12 gauge, their arms are going to be destroyed or their legs or whatever.
Yeah.
And you see it
shows that there are people who get off on that. Sure, always on the fictional version. They will probably not stomach the real version that well. but it still conveys. That's
because we can dissociate between the two worlds.
That's why we have it. So we say we can get all our crazy fantasies out in the video game and go, wow, this is crazy, cool, fun, goofy, disgusting, great, all the feelings you want. I don't care. And you get, I would never do that in reality. No one would. That's horrific. And that's why you play the game. Because you can have fun, good time, doing things you could never do in reality. And if anyone takes that seriously and says, well, it's too violent, it's like, no, you need more violence.
This is almost treading on the side of like, oh, video games cause actual violence.
You're right. Yeah, because we can flip this around saying, what is your goal here? Because if you start reducing the thing that makes the thing popular.
The thing.
Yeah. What's the point? Like chocolate ice cream has too much chocolate. Maybe there is some chocolate. Like you could focus test a certain product. This happens all the time with food, right?
Someone makes too much chocolate.
Yeah, no. Honestly, some chocolate ice cream is too chocolatey for other people in parts of the world. So what they do is they make Kit Kat specific to that region, more chocolate, less milk, whatever. But that's that region. That's that demo. This is
simply someone complaining that dark chocolate has too much chocolate and it should be more like milk chocolate.
Yes, you're right. Because milk chocolate is more consumable by the general populace, whereas dark chocolate is too bitter for the average consumer. And in his case, he's like, well, I don't really like dark chocolate much for whatever reason.
As people grow older, they tend to like dark chocolate more.
Well, when you get older, your taste buds will start failing you, and you want strong stuff. So you want the whiskeys, you want the cupcakes, you want everything that to pop in your mouth when you were a kid, and you'll never get it, but you will always wish for those days. So
the ice cream is too icy. I mean, it should just be straight up cold.
There's too much water.
Be room temperature.
minus 14 degrees Celsius is too cold. It's got to be 13. Minus 13.
13 degrees Celsius?
Well, there's an approximate for like Western ice cream. It's like 12.71%, or sorry, degrees for light fat. For low fat, then there's like higher fat. It can be colder. If you're talking about gelato, it's different. But yeah, there's certain opportune or optimum temperatures for ice cream. Also, get like freezer burn.
I love the ice cream example because he wants room temperature ice cream.
Yeah. It's such a.
You just want to drink it, right?
This is because we know this guy likes. We know this guy likes violence. So it's like he likes God of War. He loves the gameplay. Mm-hmm. We know God of War is violent. We know it's an adult. He likes it. He doesn't like this because the violence is so visceral and so detailed. Something in his brain goes, uh-oh, this can't be good for the children or something, or whatever.
That's fine if you have like a tolerance level, and that's where
that's what this is.
It's like fine, whatever.
That's all this is. The same with that game we talked about before, Agony, where everything's this hellish nightmare. Oh, there's bodies and there's sort of weird sexual imagery and blood and gore and guts. And then after about 20 minutes, your brain goes, this is boring. This is all I ever see. It's over and over and over again. And you wish, I wish there were some like green vistas or maybe some stone, some boring looking place, just because there's this bombardment of blood and guts. You're like, ugh.
Have you ever been to an Indian restaurant with friends of whom someone can't have hot stuff, capsaicin at all? It has to have zero.
Yeah.
And the Indian cook will then suggest that that's not hot at all. That's not hot at all. Like the Indian thinks it's nothing.
Well,
and then the dish is served, and it is maybe it still has some in it, and everyone else would think like this is so mild I barely notice anything. But the Indian cook, he notices none of it at all. Yet the guy who can't stand the capsaicin at all,
psychs himself
he will be
up.
Dying. He will be sweating.
He makes believe that there's actual spice in the meal when there's none.
It's not. No. There is.
Oh,
It's just that the Indian cook is so used to it that he doesn't even notice it.
Oh, I don't think so. I think Indian chefs are.
That has happened.
Okay, well,
I've been in that situation.
The Indian chefs I know, they are very good. They're some of the best, in fact, in determining smells and concentrations of spices. Because there's lots of people coming to an Indian restaurant.
That's great. It's also a great restaurant that I was at. The thing is, on the menu, everything that is actually hot, spicy, is listed as such.
Yes.
And there are dishes that are not. And I was suggesting, hey, get that, because that I know has absolutely nothing, because that Malai kofta there is nothing in it. He still wanted the chicken. The chicken also wasn't listed as having anything. It was the non-spicy chicken, but there was still some of it in it. So he should have listened to me. But it was just a situation. The menu didn't list it as having any at all, yet there was still such a minuscule amount that the Indian kitchen didn't even notice it was there. And I didn't notice it was there either. Because I tried and I felt like there's nothing there. That's fine. I eat way more hot stuff.
That's fine. People who have very high sensitivities to certain things, they will notice that, things that we don't notice. That happens a lot. But as you say, the menus nowadays, like this has been normal for at least the 10, 12 years. Every menu you see on even the fast food places will say the gluten-free or GF. They'll have a little chili pepper, and some of them they'll have 2. Mm-hmm. They'll have the vegetarian thing, so no meat in this part. Like it's very clear.
The thing is, this guy here is complaining that the Indian dish is served the way the Indians make it.
Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And for their normal tolerances, which for him is that's too hot, I'm dying, I'm throwing up, oh god, anaphylactic shock. And for the Indian, it's like, oh, this is okay. I could use a little more.
Because the people who are actually allergic wouldn't even attempt to order anything.
They can't go near. I know someone who is actually allergic, and he would have an anaphylactic shock from just minuscule amount.
You wouldn't do it. Exactly. So this is a. I'm not sure what to call this, because this guy knows violence. He likes it. He appreciates it. And he's saying this violent game is too violent. And you're like, whoa, how could you go from God of War 3, which is a violent game, we all accept that, to the first violent game, which is Mortal Kombat, the series?
I can tell you. There's this, and if we can still use the hot example, the spicy hot example, there are a few famous places in Germany that, and probably in the US as well, that sell fast food as the hottest ever in the entire country. And they have their regular customers that love that stuff and that are always pushing further. They're eating stuff that normal people can't eat anymore without training. And this is the kind of guy who says he likes hot, spicy stuff, then goes to a place like that, and keels over because he thinks he likes hot, spicy stuff, but actually he doesn't. He just likes it like mildly spiced.
He's gotta date some Indian women. It's
Wait till you get to the real world.
Yeah, I met Indian ladies who only eat spicy things. So it's like if there's no spice, they don't want it. It's like, this is boring. Why are you giving me this? Yeah.
Oh, then don't try Turkish cuisine. All I've had is apparently these people sell spices, but they don't use it in their food. At least not in what they serve in Germany.
Turkish is the main royal kitchen cuisine that Indian cooking sort of came from, but there are lots of dishes in Turkish cuisine with tomatoes or whatever. There's no spice at all. It's very tame.
It's absolutely boring.
It depends.
It's horrible.
Every dish has their. It's so wide. Like, I haven't tried all Turkish cuisine, and obviously not Indian. Indian's huge, but there's something for everyone in Turkish. So yogurts and creams and all kinds of good stuff. Anyway, 2 minutes left. This is the one video of his, or at least his opinion I don't appreciate.
So far.
Thankfully, he's not going for zero violence.
Yeah, that's true.
He's still Christian mommy.
He's still dumbing it down, which is not what you do.
I don't know if it's a bad view. It's just
to
not
Garrus during the Aftermath DLC,
I mean, we've
just
seen worse.
repeatedly hits his head until it's a pile of giblets. That could very easily be a straightforward and to-the-point fatality.
No.
Or if you want to be a little bit more ridiculous with it, how about he sticks you with a spear and then sticks the spear into the ground to tee you up, then uses his hammer like a golf club and your head like a golf ball?
You don't think that's a bit
Last of Us 2.
Overdoing it?
Second mention of that game.
So you want the violence, but you don't want the violence, yet you suggest other violence.
Yeah, he wants goofy violence or something more than just. Yeah, it's like he's
saying. It's already goofy. What the fuck?
Yeah, no, he wants it. He wants it to be less violent, more funny, more, I don't know, inventive, creative.
I mean, we can meet where what we said before, yeah, Gingerman, where we said like, yeah, we want the creative stuff.
Yeah, but that's in general. Like, we want to be entertained, whether it's funny or over the top. It's the same idea. It's just that when do you do that? And like with what's that guy with the two blades, Balaka or
Baraka?
Baraka. Yeah, like, can you imagine him trying to be funny?
I mean, there's Baraka and there's Cabal.
Oh yeah, okay.
Cabal has those steak knives though.
The hook swords.
Yeah, so like he could technically do something goofy, but it's always going to be in a violent way. So he would.
Well, that's your job in the creative department. Your job is to once a week you have to come up with a creative, fun fatality, and you have. So we have a development time of 2 years, 3 years, whatever, and that's enough time to come up with one fatality per week.
Yeah, that's like
creative.
That's like the assignments they gave to the people. I don't know if you ever watched In Living Color with Jim Carrey and a bunch of other the Wayans brothers, and every time the season ended, they had to come back to the next season with at least three ideas. Like they had like 10, 3 ideas for a skit that you would be in charge of. And, Jim Carrey came up with, Fire Marshal Bill and all these other guys, and other people did their own skits as well. But that, because they were all comedians, they were all good at their craft, and they had to do that. It was in their contract to present ideas and then pitch them to everyone else, and then they would figure out, who would do what and how and what the jokes would be. So visual artists aren't just drawing pictures. They're saying, hey, what about this? What do you think about this, sir? And they would look at this and pitch the idea and say, that's a great idea for a character. That's a great idea for a finishing move, a story beat, whatever. And it's all iterative and it's all collaborative. You're not just in your world and boom, you're the genius of the group and everyone follows you. No, it's like, I have an idea. Bob takes that idea, says, how do we do that? The programmer says, oh, we could do that. No problem. What do you need? And they plan that out. 2 weeks go by. We got that implemented idea. It takes a while because you have to go through engineers, you have to go through creative, you have to go through visuals, gameplay guys, you have to do testing, then you have to tweak it, you have to do quality control. So, yeah, no, it's a fun process. This is why, the stupid argument of the guy getting sick, it's like, no. You cannot possibly get sick at a creative enterprise where your brain is acting. You're designing a thing for fun. That's the great thing. Anyone in gaming, in media, in movies want to be there. So that's the problem we still have with this story.
I just wanted to say, because he just said he wanted it should be more goofy, but I thought he wanted it to play into more character. But then he has a problem with Johnny Cage doing goofy things.
Good point. Yeah, Shao Kahn would not be doing goofy shit. Yeah.
I just
replace for Johnny Cage, replace goofy with reenacting a movie scene. He's an actor. He reenacts a movie scene. That is his character, and he didn't get that for some reason.
Yeah. All right. Anyway.
My mind. Again, finishers that are brutal but don't require you to model grievous bodily harm on the level of what we've been seeing since 2011. The problem is, NetherRealm has gone so far that if they don't have something equal to or greater than what they've already had previously in the next game, the average person would look at it and say,
holy crap,
this is lame. Because the average person isn't looking into the context of why things are operating in a certain way. NetherRealm has unfortunately poisoned the well, so it might be too little too late. But I still think it's worth a try.
Oh, that's
to be
cool.
clear, I say all of this while also being someone who enjoys ultra-violence. God of War is my favorite franchise, and God of War is gratuitous violence of the series. But for me, it's all about the context. If Mortal Kombat could exist as it is right now and have everyone be happy and content, then that would be the ideal universe to occupy. But I would also like $10,000, a shot of whiskey, and a license to kill. But unfortunately, some things just aren't in the cards.
Wait. What? The context of the world. It's... What is the game called again? No, that's wrong, Eric.
Last of Us?
You just make Cthulhu sounds.
Oh.
The game is called Mortal Kombat.
First it was character, now
Exactly.
it's context. You're like, okay.
It's not mortal violence.
What the fuck?
Think about it, Wisp.
The context is already in the name.
Maybe it's called non-lethal combat. There you go.
Ah,
So Batman?
slightly violent combat.
Slightly gonna hurt you violent combat.
Batman combat.
Panic attack,
Pillow fight.
Yeah, I will only give you panic attacks, Batman. Storytelling. I won't touch you. I'll just scare you shit.
Yoga combat. I don't know.
No contact combat.
Pillow scaring combat. Candy cane throwing. I don't know.
Sex
For
combat.
worse, I don't see things changing anytime soon.
That was cool.
As much as I preach, it's not going to change anything, unfortunately. But a man can dream. And a man can attempt to change the world, but a man should also probably get some rest.
Oh, come on.
Okay. White belt combat.
Oh, it's collector with a K. Look at that. That's cool. Look at that. That's great.
That was a bit of an exaggeration. A man can change the world. Oh, come on, dude.
What do you... I don't want to know what you dream of because it sounds horrible.
Yeah, he's trying to have like this closing.
I do not want to live in your dream world. It is not heaven. It sounds like hell.
I wish the world wasn't at war, but guess what? Sorry.
I wish I had some whiskey, but I can't do it. It's too much. It's not going to happen. Okay.
I have whiskey on my table right now. It's just not in an unopened bottle.
I want a license to kill. But...
It is there. It is right there.
I just want to stab my arm and open it.
Okay. Anyway, we're almost done. We're almost done. We're good to go. Almost done.
So now that I'm done here, the code word is legislature, because that was the word that a random word generator came up with. So, do you agree with my take?
Okay.
Do you think I'm some loser idiot who needs to stay in his lane? Whatever the case, leave me a
No, I don't think you're a loser idiot. I just think...
No.
I just think you're a Christian mom.
He said it. I'm going to write it.
What?
He's a loser idiot.
What did he say?
What? Whoa. What? Are you extremist?
Whoa.
What?
Well, he said it. I mean, I'm going to write it down. Say, yes, sir, you are a loser idiot who should stay in your lane. There we go.
I don't think he's a loser idiot. I think he's a Christian mom.
Oh, I don't care if he actually thinks that. He said it. That means I have every freedom to write exactly what he said, word for word, and I just did. So.
Really
Okay.
smart.
Yeah, you should be tactical loser idiot now. Now you just got to fry a loser in the pan.
You're giving me ammunition here, sir. Okay, you want me to tell you?
We're just undoing all the goodwill from the God of War videos.
I'm about to cock the gun.
I'd say at worst he's misguided.
This is.
Mom.
I get what he's saying. He's just his reasoning again with the previous YouTuber we covered, the not Veritas Joe guy. All those tropes were bad or could be bad. His explanation as to why they were just stupid. And this explanation.
Oh, is that the guy with the afro?
Yeah.
With the.
Yeah, the same problem. He, all the points he made regarding the problems were fair. The explanation was not. In this case, the guy's like, "Oh, I like violence. Violence is great, but there's too much of it." You're like, "Why?"
I mean, there is too much of
detailed. It's too detailed.
Yeah,
it's
but
just
that's
your opinion, man.
That's like the fidelity of the graphical quality is so high, therefore PS5 bad. You're like, no, there's nothing wrong with that.
Well,
dude, they can keep the graphic fidelity. They just need to be more creative.
The technology should go backward.
Well, that's his point. He's just wording it completely dead-ass wrong.
Yeah, he's explaining poorly. And again, he tried to do it. He tried to explain Shao Kahn. He's like, okay, what would be a Shao Kahn example? He gave a poor example. So he tried, he failed, right?
Yeah, he didn't even bring up the hammer like we did.
Yeah.
It's Shao Kahn's hammer. That's easy.
If only he used a spear and then he did it, like, what?
What?
My guy, he already has the hammer. It's his hammer.
Yeah.
Well, he said he wanted him to use a spear and then use the hammer as like a golf club.
And then he used the hammer multiple times, and then, well, instead of doing it multiple, it's like, what do you want? Like, what is the problem? So I think he wants to, like, this is the same thing with the fanboy or the gamer who loves the game so much, but only if they did it this way it would be even better. And maybe there's some merit. Maybe he has some creative insight into things, and I'm sure he does because he loves these games. But his current explanation and whatever conclusion he's just trying to get to, which is, if I had power, blah, 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 is silly.
So. What makes it worse that he's not even a fanboy. He had just gotten into the series when he made this video.
Right.
What?
Right. So.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know too much about Mortal Kombat in the past 10 years because I played the original and the second one. So
his only real leverage is that he had already covered God of War like 4 or 5 times, but that went away like immediately.
Yeah.
The thing is that with the Mortal Kombat games, they started doing this thing called where you can kill your opponent in the middle of the fight. I forget what it's called. So you don't even have to do a fatality. And all of this is just based on choice if you want to do the thing or not.
I don't know. The relevant thing is being said by our resident Giga chat in the chat.
What?
Saying Mortal Kombat has too much violence is like saying Dragon Age has too many dragons.
That is actually, well, there aren't that many dragons to begin with.
I know. Is that even comparable?
I know, but the idea, the spirit of the idea is true.
Okay.
Well, you guys stumped me.
There's too much sex in a GTA game.
Well, that stumped me. I don't know about Dragon Age.
Well, anyway.
Take it away.
Anyway.
There's too much titillation in Bayonetta.
Let's just go. We're good.
That's Nintendo's fault.
Comment, tell me what you think. I'm sure they'll be civil. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification icon so you're always up to date on what I'm doing. And if you want to support me financially, please consider pledging to my Patreon for unique perks and rewards like these people here.
Ah, it's GAW004. We know. Yeah, we know.
God, you traitor!
I am disappointed.
I do want to know what the fucking code word was.
Well, just one bad video, right? I mean,
what's the code word?
Yeah, just go to the comments and you'll see the code word yourself.
Yeah. Oh, the schnitzelator.
I want it out of his mouth, Smud.
You want what out of his mouth?
The code word he said earlier.
Thanks to Raph and Anutsu for going above and beyond. I've been the King of Snark Style right here on Tactical Bacon Productions, and I will see you next time. Peace.
Yo, Mr. White Bacon.
You didn't not even that one.
Still
wait, there's a fundamental flaw in Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, I'm still more offended by the bacon than anything else.
Is this going to be next on the Smudcast? I don't know. I don't care. Whatever.
All right. Well, we got some memes going. Let's get going. Through Legacy. Violence is never the answer. Violence is a question, and the answer is yes. What is that? Is that a Nerf gun? I can't tell.
Oh, I wish.
Don't worry. The dentist isn't scary. The dentist. Oh, my God.
Yeah, why doesn't he put teeth back in?
Hold on, what meme? Where?
What is that?
Look,
There's 3 Wii
the
games.
relevant thing is just never start a fight, but always finish it, if necessary, with a fatality.
Oh, it's the creator from.
What meme?
The third one.
Yeah.
The oopsie. That's the original sound guy for a classic Mortal Kombat. That's the toasty guy. Dan Forden.
Oh, that's funny. Get out of here.
Sweet.
He is one of the original creators, yes.
Combat mask. I don't think that's his.
That's not Mortal Kombat.
I'm not
That's
sure what.
awesome. Where did you find that? I'm gonna have to look in my mouth drawers.
So here we have Shaggy strangling.
Ultra Instinct Shaggy.
Scorpion.
Is that Scorpion?
Is that real?
Yes, this is from Scorpion's Revenge.
Really? No.
And the next one is the next one is the actual the full thing in a GIF. And this was after the whole thing with Ultra Instinct Shaggy. It's it was a mix between Brave Shaggy from Legend of the Phantasaur, and right after that, Ultra Instinct came out in Dragon Ball Super. So people put 2 and 2 together.
Oh.
That's funny.
We made it fusion. Shells.
That's from the first SpongeBob movie. That's great. That is great.
I'm a goof. No,
And that rain of that's I think that's from Aftermath after Shang Tsung takes their souls out of them. Spoilers. This one's awesome. This one's great. This one's great.
He's Sub-Zero. She's Sub-Zero. You're Sub-Zero. I'm Sub-Zero. Are there any other Sub-Zeros I should know about? Windows XP starts up.
Cyber Sub-Zero from MK9.
I forgot about Cyber Sub-Zero. That's funny.
Well, they went too crazy with the Ryu versus Ken concept and
but I'm just like people happy that the rivalry ended at MKX. It's like, guys, it ended in MK2.
It ended off screen, yeah, right.
It wasn't even off screen. It was in the MK2 comic.
Which one is cuter? Oh god.
Sub-Zero, Noob Saibot, Ermac, Rain, Reptile, Smoke, and Scorpion.
Cosmo Sex Tip? Okay.
Cosmonaut.
Yeah. Good job.
When even Mortal Kombat Joker looks better than Jared Leto.
That was from the teaser, wasn't it?
That's from what the one here? The one here is from MK11.
I know, but that was what they were teasing before they actually developed.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Oh, who doesn't have two? He doesn't have forearms. Fuck you.
Terrifying. It's terrifying. He's so horrible.
He is.
That's giving me PTSD right now.
Yeah. Did you know Mortal Kombat is actually based on an old Scandinavian church song? Wait, really? Yes. Finish him. Oh. That's good. Sub-Zero
wins.
Now here's Sub-Zero with the weather. Sub-Zero wins. Oh, give me this one.
It's becoming a blue state.
Hold on, give me the next one. We need suggestions for a Mortal Kombat character death for our new game. How about Baraka? No, Jade. Batman.
Oh. The new Mortal Kombat looks 100.
That's Kamala. That's Kamala Harris, and I don't know who the other bitch is.
That's Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
On the right. On the right.
Isn't that both of them?
They're both Kamala Harris, right?
This is the multiverse.
I mean, well,
this is Scorpion versus Sub-Zero.
Yeah, the joke there is that in the old games, they just literally the same sprites except for a few, and they're just recolors of one another.
Weren't most also the same actor?
Yes, for Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Johnny Cage.
Who will be my next opponent? That's good.
Right.
I hate this character, by the way.
Yeah, not
Devora. Everyone hates her. You're not alone, dude. Quick rundown. In MKX, it's like, okay, let's set aside how stupid the time travel is. It literally, like, the present day human Scorpion versus the past Scorpion who's still undead. This bitch comes along and kills the present human version, even though they could have given that to Noob Saibot, and it would have been a lot better.
No, we gotta have Sub-Zero versus Scorpion again.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Noob Saibot, the original Sub-Zero, the Sub-Zero that Scorpion killed.
So
Duh.
I guess Scorpion could just put Sub-Zero back into the freezer, and he's
out again. He pops right up. Oh, he's a cryomancer, Smud. Come on.
Okay.
Can Sub-Zero melt? I didn't know this.
No.
Oh, this is what am I? Just take my money.
At the top, it says respect women, you misogynist gamer pigs.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
This is much better. Thanks.
Yeah, this is an actual problem with Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they actually reduced the size and.
Yeah, this.
Stop listening to the socialists. Embrace the R.
2011, 2019.
Yeah, this Scarlet debuted in MK9 as DLC, and they put her in the base roster in MK11.
God,
I remember this.
The next one, though.
Then they put her in a burqa.
The other one though, MK13.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Seriously. That's what's going on. See, I'll repeat this again. Reject socialism, embrace DR.
Yeah.
You can even take this as a in America, you can take this as a political slogan. It's free of charge.
You mean reduction? Breast reduction?
No, fuck off, Eric. Fuck
you, Eric. To bring up Doom again, it's like Mortal Kombat going through all this socialist bullshit. Meanwhile, Doomslayer's just in the corner on a lawn chair eating popcorn. Look at you! You're pathetic now.
Oh, you could do this. You could do this with any villain, and Kirby's just going to be like way more stronger than all of them.
I mean, the joke is that Shang Tsung versus Kirby. Yeah, do you actually want to read that, or should we move on?
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, to what?
There's The Shining. Yeah, okay. Whisp is right about picking up an anatomy book and drawing it.
This is literally the Batman Who Laughs costume from MK11.
Huh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
PTSD is just spicy nostalgia.
Oh no.
Spider-Man. Made in Iran. Chicken PTSD. Oh.
What?
All the helicopters.
No. That is evil.
Oh shit.
I was a noun. Being horny is a feminine trait. Why are you, as a man, thinking of boobs? You should be thinking of war. That's great.
You want to know how much Shao Kahn sucks in MK11? He's Trump.
Oh yeah, make the Khan great again or some shit.
Oh no, yeah.
Like, out of all of the characters screwed over in MK11, Shao Kahn had it. Is one of the guys that had it the most rough.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh boy.
All right. Me and the bad bitch I stole from the battered woman's shelter. What's she gonna do? Fight back? Oh, jeez. The show Bleach. Like, oh.
Well, this one's for Eric.
Wait, what?
Nobody, absolutely nobody, not even the devil himself. YouTube at 3 a.m. Yoda sexually assaults Peter Griffin in a Subway restaurant bathroom.
What's the context to the stream?
ASMR experiences.
I think.
Yeah, why is this for me?
Eric said something about Yoda earlier.
Stream relevant.
No, it's like you mentioned Soul Calibur earlier. I brought up Soul Calibur 4. That was the Star Wars one, and Eric said something about Yoda.
I don't even remember.
You wanted
someone go back and clip it.
You wanted
I don't remember.
I know we talked about that.
Eric wanted to have a fatality on Yoda.
That's the one. There you go.
But why do I sexually assault? Okay, whatever.
That's your fatality, Eric.
Jade putting the ass back in Assassin. Oh, okay.
Yes, that's from Deception. Gee.
I mean, I'm okay with that reference. It seems good enough.
Oh god.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Back when Jade was extremely hot. Back when Mortal Kombat was not into that crap of political correctness. Today, two bad games now have to adapt to the demands of fat, ugly feminists, and no one wants to touch, not even with a stick.
Based.
Yeah, I think she needs a bit more clothes, but just practical reasons.
She's still cute.
What? This is after a fight.
This is at the battle damage. Smudge.
Oh, clothing gets broken. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
They get battered, beaten, bruised. Their clothing gets ripped off.
Last week we discussed whether or not the...
Oh no!
They added that for.
Oh no! What's this? I'm not playing a MatPat video. Maybe later.
MatPat said you get no bitches.
I don't care.
Okay.
I have PTSD. Penis is stuck disorder. Whoa!
Oh no!
Oh, penis to sorry, penis to suck disorder. Oh, that's different than penis is stuck. I wrote that. I read that too quickly.
You said penis is stuck.
Stuck is funnier.
Smud, you're not the only one.
I was like, wait, what? Okay. My brain is a nice, happy place. And it was like,
yeah. I'd say your misread is funnier.
Yeah.
See, you're becoming traumatized, man.
Well, okay. What we think rappers went through, right? When we listen to their songs, yeah.
War is necessary. War brings pain. No, I'm just kidding.
Isn't that the what's his name? The penguin with the
Skipper.
It's Skipper. I thought it was
that one's Skipper. Yeah.
Okay.
Kowalski, anal.
Kowalski, there we go. Yeah. Okay.
Kowalski analysis.
Yeah. Thank you for showing us who Melina is.
The not you there is from the 2021 movie, which is
Oh God, really?
Let me tell you this. Most of the movie takes place in a fucking cave, and not once is the tournament mentioned.
Hey, wait a second.
Even though that's the plot.
Wasn't there that amazing fan-made Mortal Kombat short like a few years back?
Yeah, the only good live-action Mortal Kombat thing after the 1995 movie that we've ever gotten.
It was amazing. I remember how good that was. If you guys have not seen the fan-made, it was like basically in a police precinct, or it was shot.
What was it, Legacy or something?
Something like that. Yeah. Great action, like just fantastic fighting.
I think it was Legacy. There was an older one called MK Mortal Kombat Conquest that wasn't all that good.
Well, it's a series. It's a YouTube series, and it's not just one. There's 12 episodes or whatever.
It's like the joke is that I know. It's like the joke with live action Mortal Kombat is like the 95 movie's the only good live action thing we've ever gotten, and it all went downhill with Annihilation.
And all it takes is a bunch of fans who can hire the right people and have the right camera angles and do an amazing job. It's fantastic. It's probably the best example of fan-made live action I've ever seen.
Yeah, just fan projects in general. They're for the most part they're based.
The 18-1 soap, Pure Castle soap, Castile soap.
I don't get it either.
I don't know what Castile soap is.
I think this is just random off-topic stuff.
Yeah, that's random.
Hemp peppermint?
What?
I don't know what hemp peppermint is. Stockbrokers watching me tank Eli Lilly and company stock by paying $8 and announcing free insulin. It's not $8.
What?
That's a gigantic pharmaceutical company. It's not $8.
No. Oh, haven't you heard? You could get verification marks on Twitter now for $8.
Yeah, Twitter
and lots of people pulled bullshit with that, and apparently someone called himself Eli Lilly and Co. with the verification mark and said insulin is free now, and then the company stock dropped and they lost 18 billion or something.
Well, the silver lining is that a lot of the people that did all that trolling were leftists that deserved the bannings anyway.
Oh my God.
All right, this is Bullet Hell, I think. Which game? I don't know.
I think it's Toho 12.5 or the other. No, it's the other one, the later one that I don't know the number of. 18 something. There are too many Toho games.
And the Whisp with the confused face, like, what is this?
You could have used the happy one.
Yeah, I was about to say you could have used the happy Whisp.
I like the faces though.
You shouldn't have to suffer for your arts. I have spent half a day painting a cat girl. I love it.
This is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, people in 2011 opening the arc of the covenant and discovering video games for the first time.
Why 2011 specifically?
But remember, this is less gory
than
Mortal Kombat.
2011 is about the time the SJWs realized video games exist.
Yeah.
It wasn't 2016 when Trump became president.
Trump's a gamer, obviously.
There's is that a female version of Shao Kahn?
No, this is Shao Kahn.
That's the actual.
Oh, that's what he said, right? Make Outworld great again.
He actually says "Make Outworld great again" in intro dialogue.
Yeah.
In a fight.
But doesn't he say something else that was also
Trump-esque? Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, there was a big. The problem was in 10 was the time travel one. And then 11, they redid all the crap.
No. 9 was time travel because it reset to the beginning of MK1. That was and visions of what's supposed to happen. Other than that, there's not much time travel.
10 is supposed to be a continuation. 11 then decided to do it again.
Yeah.
The next will be It Was All a Dream.
This trilogy better be a fucking dream. All 3 of these games suck dick.
The food isn't that hot. The food.
He do be kind of sexy.
Day is like.
Under those gloves, he's flipping you off. You don't know it.
I guess because he lives in the Arctic. I don't know. Yes, Berserk sucks. Not gonna lie. Okay, retard. Who the hell thinks Berserk sucks?
I just
People
imagine
think
that's
it's too violent.
I mean, I've never seen it.
Jeez.
You'll never catch me saying it's bad, though. I've just never seen it.
Yeah. Mandatory use of an innocent woman to hold a door which crushes her to progress.
Well,
Yeah.
that's off screen, though.
Perfectly cool.
No, it's
optional
not.
victory execution. Too excessive ruins the game. Yeah, that's a great example.
I just played the game like last month. You put her on the thing,
sorry.
you
Yeah,
walk
I
away,
forget.
then it comes down, and then you see her in a pool of blood already crushed.
Oh, see, so that's his
the
argument. You
first-
didn't see it.
The
Okay.
first God of War game had a similar thing as well, and you could see it on screen how she was crushed.
Yeah. So the options to
In the first one, was that?
defeat.
Yes.
The whole point is the fatalities are optional. You don't have to do them.
True.
He doesn't like that. Pillow
Well,
combat.
that's a good point.
You know what? Don't give the dead or alive guys any ideas. 'Cause
For all we know, they're going to do it
they're
anyway. Who
probably
cares?
not that far removed from like, hey, we could put the girls in bikinis in a bed with big pillows. Like, oh, that's so on the
Mud.
nose.
Wow, they got
Smud,
so
all
many
them-
tattoos.
Smud, all they're missing is the bed and the pillows at this
How
point.
is that not already a bonus mode
Yeah.
that you
They're-
unlock?
It'll happen.
What's that stupid? Well, this is a manga. It's a story about girls, and they're on a water flotation platform, and they're wrestling with their butts.
That is a Dead or Alive game. I'm pretty sure.
Well, no, it's a
I think
manga.
I remember that.
No, it's an anime.
Yeah, it's
It's a manga and an anime. That's
based off-
separate.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a whole
But it-
separate thing.
but it's Dead or Alive.
No,
Well, that's what I mean. It probably would be something that they would.
it
do.
would be, but the actual thing is a whole other thing altogether.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. When you thought you were going to have a bad day, and then your best friend rolls up, beep beep. You said, "Fuck."
Beep beep. Finish her.
The skeleton coming at you.
Is that a guy with no pants?
Oh my god! What the fuck is this Cthulhu shit?
Mortal
Kombat
Kombat.
lore.
Mortal Kombat lore.
It really isn't. Speaking as a lore runner of the MK series, it's not all that hard to understand. There's a lot, but simple.
Buy me Bone Storm or go to hell. That can be arranged. Marge Simpson, born 9 pounds 6 ounces, died.
Born 9 pounds? What?
Why?
The weight instead of the age.
Why is... I'm not... What? I don't get it.
Me neither.
This is
She
funny.
was 9 pounds when she was born. Then she died
Yeah.
100 pounds.
Yeah. This. So this joke is here, so that it is never revealed in what era the Simpsons play, because the Simpsons are forever,
Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
Even under Disney.
so they can't age.
When do you withdraw your OCs from when you were 14?
Pretty much.
Wow.
And those
Yeah.
these
much
are all
changed.
from the ones on the bottom are all from MK9, and I like some of them.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the ninja robot whole deal.
It's just
I like Noob. He's really
Scorpion, Noob, Cybot, Smoke, Sub-Zero, Ermac, Rain, and Reptile.
The red variant. Okay, so it was the red variant of the Vulcan Nerf gun. I thought it was. Yeah, I was right.
This is red.
Well, there's two versions, so this is the other one.
Okay, I know.
This is from the first meme I covered. I was like, what the heck?
Okay.
cool. Fuck.
Cage. And then it's
Oh.
it's Melina. That's great. That's great.
If it weren't for the cage on the pants, this would look like Duke Nukem.
Sure.
No,
That's great.
no, anything
Oh,
to this.
jeez.
No.
Oh, boy.
No.
Wow.
No, living.
Holy hell, dude.
Get out of here with that.
The saddest people give the... Oh, boy.
Well, that's Melina in a nutshell, yes.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Make Outworld great again. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so that's what he said. Vote for Shao Kahn, yeah?
All right, Big Scorpion. Brushy.
Pretty much still in character.
See, we need more stuff like that in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, more goofy shit. I'm going to say the N-word.
Speaking of goofy shit.
That's offensive. You shouldn't say the N-word. Ninja.
Well, who did that face? That's amazing.
Very plastic, yeah.
Oh my god.
Me, performs fatality on enemy. Everyone else at Taekwondo. That boy glitchy.
I don't fear you, ninja. Oh boy.
Resist and your daughter suffers. She'd want me to fight Shao Kahn.
Cuts off right there.
Oh, jeez. All right. Bone Storm, 99 cents.
That's Goro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally Goro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Boy.
Good stuff, Simpsons. All right. Well, that was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't like the video, but we could probably... This is a guy we could talk to, have a good time with, straighten him out, what he's trying to... Because what he's saying is on the right track. Like, I don't like this part. That's fine. You could have the opinion you don't like a game. There's nothing wrong with that. But you shouldn't be saying, well, if only it was less of the thing I like, or I don't like, rather.
Yeah, something more consistent.
Only I could change the world.
If only this pizza was made the way I wanted it.
He was so close to saying like what the actual problem is, which was the coolness and the creativity, and instead just saying the exact same thing we've always heard.
What people do is they say, this subjective opinion of mine I like because of these 4 or 5 reasons, and it's so generic that it's like, yeah, you like it because it's cool, it looks good, it's fun to play, it's part of the character, it's part of the story, and you give all the reasons you like it, and that's fair, but it's not a solution. It's just a thing you just don't like for whatever reason, and it doesn't hit those boxes all the time.
Yeah. Now, from what he did get right, he does have some merit in it, because even the game itself has the one fatality with Sub-Zero that we saw earlier, so the game had some idea of what to do with that. It's just,
Yeah, it's not it's even we would say, yeah, there should be some more stuff or more creative ideas, but it's really hard. I don't know if you guys have gone through all the fatalities or I've seen
plenty of them, yeah.
Not all the fatalities. I've seen the one for the Injustice League. Those are pretty. I'm like, whoa.
Wait, fatalities for who?
The Injustice.
And what?
What's the
Injustice? You mean Injustice 2, right? That's not fatalities.
What are they?
You're talking about super moves?
Yeah.
In the Injustice games, they're just super moves on the level of Street Fighter.
Oh, okay. I do remember watching it. There's like a 20 or 30 minute clip of like, this one game, and they're cool. But and it works.
Yeah,
it works for that.
Yeah, the Injustice games do pretty much the equivalent of what he had proposed, which was the heroic brutalities from MK versus DC.
Yeah, and it's fine because they are that franchise in that DC world.
In DC, yeah,
which is good as opposed to a Mortal Kombat game, which should be Mortal Kombat. So,
but at the same time, they brought Joker over and it worked.
Yeah, and DC is generally more aimed at teenagers. Mortal Kombat is R.
The adults, yes.
Yes, embrace the R, please.
Well, I did like the multiple levels. You jump on a guy and he breaks the floor he's on and you fall to the next level. I always liked that. That was always cool. So it's still cinematic. It's still visually gorgeous to look at. And it's fun in some cases, but it's a lot of graphics coming at you, a lot of detail, and it gets you kind of tired at times to see that up close. So I get where this guy's coming from. I just think his reasoning is wrong. Anyway, we're done. Thanks, guys. I still like the YouTuber. I just don't like his opinion, so we can disagree. And I did that for fun on the comments, so it's not like I hate the guy. He said that's what you should do, and that's what I did. So I just can't blame you.
Yeah, it's like, and there isn't anything wrong with the occasional bad take either, because I'm pretty sure he is someone who once he sees like that the criticism you left for him is like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Like you said, he's new to the series, right?
Yeah, he's new, but he started from the beginning, so he does have an idea of how it should be. But again, the way he explained this in particular was just off.
Yeah. I think if we were to sit down for a good hour and talk about the franchise as a whole, you'll see that he loves it, or at least enjoys it. And his particular, I would say almost on the level of nitpick, because he likes it. He still enjoys it. And it's no different than you going to like a pizza place and ordering one of like their signature, like there's 6 options. You order the one and he's like, oh, I love margaritas. And you're like, well, the basil could be a bit more fresh, or there could be more of it, or the cheese is not melted enough, or whatever.
Yeah.
Even though it's a fantastic pizza. So,
Yeah. And he definitely Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
When you're new to the thing, it's generally considered, at the very least, bad manners to go, oh yeah, I'm new to the thing, it's awesome, but you need to change this and that to appeal better to me.
Yeah, bad first impression right there.
Yeah. So I think he's on the right track. If he just played the game for another year, or played the older games for another year, I think he would appreciate the violence a bit more. And I really want to know where he's coming from, though. I really want to get why he thinks these particular things are too gory, because there's got to be...
Because nobody should suffer.
Yeah, the crunch discussion, that killed the whole video.
That's off.
That killed the whole bit. That killed the video. Because we've known this for years already. You don't have to shove it down our throats again.
Yeah, it's the wrong topic.
Yeah,
the PTSD thing was too much, I admit.
Now, if this were specifically a video talking about, the violence isn't as creative, make it more creative like the older games, stuck with that would have been fine.
Yeah, like showcase the babalities,
Yeah, the PTSD article is something we can talk about because it was a thing that was written, but the crunch is irrelevant to the topic.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. Have yourself a great evening. We'll talk to you real soon. And keep voting, keep suggesting stuff. And that's it. Have a great night.
Embrace the R.
Johnny Cage.
Fatality.